Chapter 4304. There should be a great battle going on in Di Luo City. Although it is hidden by a powerful array, I can still clearly sense a part of the fluctuations of the great battle. The old man standing behind, Su Zhou, looked solemn, and his voice was filled with vicissitudes of life. With Zhuo's strength, how can he be a match for Nu and the others? It is only a matter of time before he is captured. That damn bastard. We gave him the eyes of the void, but he didn't use it. Darren personally went into the Wujin Mountains to give him the eyes of the void in vain. Ziyu stomped his feet in exasperation. He hated Zhuoan so much that his teeth itched. He couldn't wait to tear Zhuoan into pieces. I quite admire this child. Logically speaking, if an ordinary cultivator were to obtain the Eye of the Void in such a situation of certain death, they would definitely use it at the first moment to escape with their lives. But he didn't do that. Instead, he sought another way to escape. This shows that his will is far stronger than an ordinary cultivator's. The mysterious woman suddenly spoke. She glanced sideways at Ziyu and put in a good word for Zhuoan. Ziyu smiled a little embarrassedly, but didn't dare to refute the mysterious woman's words. However, there was jealousy in his eyes. Of course, the target of his jealousy was naturally not the mysterious woman, but Zhuoan. Let's wait and see. If Brother Zhuo really encounters a life and death crisis, he will definitely use the eyes of the void. At that time, we can meet up with him in advance. Since he hasn't used it yet, it means that he hasn't reached the moment of life and death, Su Zhou said calmly. Ziyu and the others were helpless. They thought that Su Zhou was right. Now, the only thing they could do was wait and see. Boom, boom. As time passed, the battle in Di Luo City became more and more intense and gradually reached its climax. Many experts hidden around Di Luo City naturally felt it. At the same time, they also noticed that the tens of thousands of rays of light emitted by the combination array around Di Luo City were gradually dimming. Obviously, under the influence of the terrifying battle in Di Luo City, this powerful combination array was gradually unable to support itself. Most of these combination arrays were at the early stage of the second sky of Eternal Realm. The reason why they could last until now was mainly because of the strong defense formed by the complex combination of these arrays. Now, the battle between Nu and Jian Luo was becoming more and more intense. The energy that spread out was too strong, almost destroying the surrounding arrays. Many cultivators trapped in Di Luo City had suffered an unexpected disaster. Most of them died from the energy shockwaves of the battle. A few lucky ones who hid in remote areas and escaped with their lives. And finally, the combination array that spanned across the entire Di Luo City could no longer withstand the energy of Jian Luo and Nu and shattered with a loud bang. Jian Luo, the moment the array shattered, Nu's huge Dharma idol waved its 6 arms. The 6 weapons on the 6 arms spewed out 6 different colored light beams. In the blink of an eye, the light beams pierced through Jian Luo's defense, formed by countless sword chi storms, and pierced through his entire body. Jian Luo's body stagnated, and he spat out a mouthful of black blood. His pitch-black eyes slowly regained their clarity. What happened? Jian Luo's body twitched as soon as he finished speaking. Then, the evil divine sword in his body was pulled out from his Tianling acupoint. Sword Jian Luo screamed. After the evil sword left his body, he lost his last bit of vitality. His whole body fell to the ground like a doll with its strings cut. He couldn't be more dead. After the evil sword left Jian Luo's body, it flew across the sky and fled into the distance. Don't even think about escaping. Nu was flustered and exasperated. She was in a sorry state and hated the evil sword to the core. This time, she naturally didn't want the evil sword to escape. However, the evil sword was too fast. As soon as she finished speaking, the evil sword had already disappeared without a trace. She couldn't lock onto it in time. Just as she was about to give chase, the bright lamp old man, Blood Beauty, and Yin Chunzi, who had been waiting outside the city, had already caught up and blocked her path. Nu, what about Zhuowen? According to our previous agreement, you just have to hand Zhuowen over to us. The bright lamp old man hurriedly said. As he spoke, he looked in the direction of the mountain ring around Di Luo City. He could sense that the experts hidden around the mountain ring were ready to make a move. Their hidden auras were exposed one after another, causing him to feel a chill run down his spine. Nu revealed a bitter smile. She looked at the three people surrounding her and knew that now wasn't the time to chase after the evil sword. She had to explain to the bright lamp old man and the others. Therefore, Nu briefly explained everything that had happened in Di Luo City. The bright lamp old man and the others' expressions immediately turned ugly. They looked unkindly at Nu and asked, "That Zhuowen self-destructed and died? Are you sure?" Nu braced herself and nodded. How would Nu dare to deceive the three sirs? Everything I said is true. The bright lamp old man wanted to say more, but his expression changed greatly. He couldn't help but look at the mountain ring outside Di Luo City. He saw that around the mountain ring, many figures were rapidly approaching. Their auras were incomparably strong. Many of them were not weaker than the bright lamp old man and the others. At a glance, there were at least 20 people. All of a sudden, so many late and peak Dharma adepts of the universe had gathered. This immediately caused Nu, who was still explaining, to tremble in fear. Her face turned pale. The 6 city lords who had originally thought that they had escaped danger and were planning to sneak away were caught by several experts and brought over as soon as they walked out of Di Luo City. Among this group of experts, Suzhou, Ziyu, and the others were also among them. However, they were more low-key and didn't attract too much attention. Bright Lamp, it seems that you have made a big discovery. You should know the whereabouts of that Zhuowen. An elegant middle-aged scholar walked out of the crowd. He looked indifferently at the bright lamp old man and the others and asked the question in everyone's hearts. Originally, they had also thought that Zhuowen would be captured by Nu and then they would reap the benefits. However, when they had waited for Di Luo City's great array to break, they had seen Nu alone. There was no sign of Zhuowen at all. Ming, the bright lamp old man, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chenzi's expressions weren't very good. They coldly glared at Nu and then threw her to the middle-aged scholar. We don't know what happened in Di Luo City. As for that Zhuowen's whereabouts, we don't know either. You can ask Nu. The bright lamp old man said unhappily. The middle-aged scholar wasn't angry. He stroked his right hand and a gentle energy wrapped around Nu. Her stumbling figure slowly stabilized in front of him. The third leader of the Nuwa clan. Speak, where is Zhuowen? The middle-aged scholar asked lightly. The handsome girl's face was full of bitterness, and her heart was beating extremely fast. She looked somewhat timidly at the middle-aged scholar in front of her and the many experts behind him. She could only brace herself and repeat what she had said to the old man of Bright Lamp and the others. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 43:05. Did Zhuowen blow himself up and die? Did the map fragments on his body also disappear with his explosion? The middle-aged scholar narrowed his eyes and stared at the handsome girl he was supporting. The dozens of people behind the middle-aged scholar were discussing animatedly. The content of their discussion was very simple. They didn't believe the handsome girl's words at all. Honorable 3 clan leaders, it seems that no one believes your words. I also think that your words are too childish. I hope you don't hide anything from us anymore. If you have something to say, just say it. As long as you say it, we won't make things difficult for you. The middle-aged scholar looked at the handsome girl with a smile. He looked very warm, but the girl could clearly feel that there was a deep chill hidden behind the middle-aged scholar's smile. The handsome girl was in a dilemma. She had indeed told the truth, but no one believed the truth. Everyone, I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, I can open my divine soul and let you check my memory. The handsome girl clenched her fists tightly and said in a deep voice. Ming, the old man, the middle-aged scholar, and the others were all shocked by the handsome girl's words. Their eyes showed that they were thinking. The handsome girl, was even willing to open her divine soul for them to check. Did it mean that the former was telling the truth? Yes. They knew that the divine soul was the most important part of a cultivator. Opening the divine soul was equivalent to handing the right of life to the other party. The handsome girl was obviously intimidated by the power of so many powerhouses. That was why she finally decided to make this decision. Since the three clan leaders are so frank, it would be impolite of us to refuse. Then, we'll leave it to you. The middle-aged scholar smiled slightly. Although he was surprised that the handsome girl could do this, he was not so gullible. Therefore, he still wanted to check the handsome girl's memory. The handsome girl smiled bitterly and said, "Sir, I'll let you check the memory of my divine soul alone. After you confirm it, can you testify for me?" The handsome girl's divine soul was powerful, but if it was checked by so many people, she was afraid that it would be seriously injured. Therefore, she made this request, hoping to minimize the damage. The middle-aged scholar pondered for a moment. He looked at the people behind him. After everyone agreed, he nodded and said, "Of course." The handsome girl sighed softly and no longer resisted. She began to gradually let go of the guard on the surface of her divine soul and accept the middle-aged scholar's spiritual exploration. The handsome girl's eyes slightly closed, and there was some pain on her face. The people around them all stared at the handsome girl and the middle-aged scholar with different thoughts. Suzhou and Ziyu looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. When the female lead told them that Zhuo had died from self-detonation, the two of them didn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. After all, Zhuo had a life-saving treasure like the Eye of Void. Under everyone's nervous gazes, time slowly passed. In the end, the middle-aged scholar withdrew his palm from the girl's Tianling acupoint. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Everyone's gazes retracted from the handsome girl and landed on the middle-aged scholar. They held their breaths and waited for the middle-aged scholar to speak. The middle-aged scholar smiled bitterly. "I've checked the handsome girl's memories. She really didn't lie. In her memories, Zhuo did explode." As soon as these words came out, the crowd was in an uproar, and the noise continued to resound. Suzhou, Ziyu, and the mysterious girl's pupils shrank. They felt that it was even more inconceivable. What's wrong with this Zhuo? He didn't use that life-saving treasure and chose to explode. Does he want to anger us to death? Ziyu gritted her teeth and said in a low voice, "There should be something fishy about this matter. Based on my understanding of Zhuo, he's not a simple-minded brute who only knows how to act recklessly." Suzhou said rather calmly. The mysterious girl, who had been silent, also spoke. "Suzhou is right. Although I haven't had much contact with Zhuo, I have witnessed his various performances in the Wujin Mountains. He is a resourceful and extremely cunning little fellow. I suspect that this little fellow might have used some kind of trick to deceive the handsome girl. In fact, he's still alive. He might even have quietly slipped to a place where no one is around to hide." Ziyu and the other two people looked thoughtful. They secretly nodded in their hearts. They also thought that Suzhou and the mysterious girl's words made sense. If that Zhuo really escaped, will he still look for us? Ziyu frowned. "I'm not sure about this. Let's try to contact Zhuo again after this place disperses. If he really keeps his word, he will definitely reply to us," Suzhou said in a low voice. Suzhou, Ziyu, and the others didn't speak anymore. They acted like good actors and matched the expressions of the people around them. They also looked surprised and incredulous. "Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Then how can Zhuo self-destruct? He has a remnant map on him." "I don't believe it. This handsome girl must have done something to her soul. In fact, she has already hidden Zhuo." The crowd was in high spirits. They all stretched out their necks like ducks and questioned the handsome girl. The handsome girl's face was pale. She had never seen such a scene before. She was so scared that her face turned pale. There were many pinnacle experts of the universe here. If these experts attack her just because of a disagreement, how could she still be alive? The middle-aged scholar's face turned cold. He suddenly shouted. The sound waves were filled with a terrifying pressure that was as heavy as a mountain. The originally excited crowd immediately quieted down after the middle-aged scholar's shout. It was obvious that the middle-aged scholar was one of the stronger ones in this group, which was why his shout was so effective. Everyone, I have thoroughly checked the handsome girl's soul. There is indeed no problem. I can make a heavenly oath about this. The middle-aged scholar said solemnly. Since the middle-aged scholar had already said this, everyone calmed down. Suzhou, Ziyu, and the others frowned. They didn't believe the handsome girl's words at all, but the middle-aged scholar had already made a heavenly oath. If the handsome girl was lying, he wouldn't be so stupid as to make a heavenly oath. Could it be that Zhuan is really dead? How can that be? Ziyu muttered to herself. Her eyes were full of ruthlessness. Shuzhou, the mysterious woman, and the others were also frowning. They didn't believe that Zhuan was dead, but they had to believe it now. Zhou suddenly felt something. The communication jade talisman at his waist flashed faintly. He looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to him. So he quietly took off the communication jade token. The moment he saw the name of the sender of the communication jade token, his pupils couldn't help but constrict, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Ziyu looked strangely at Suzhou, who had lost his composure. In his impression, Suzhou had always been mature, steady, and had a card up his sleeve. This was the first time he had seen him lose his composure like this. Chapter 43:06. Suzhou quickly calmed down. He put the communication jade talisman back at his waist and said, "This matter is of great importance. We'll talk about it when we get back." Ziyu and the others saw that Suzhou was so cautious. Although they were curious, they didn't ask. In the end, the storm in Dilua City ended in a farce. This the experts from the super domains who had been hiding in the dark had originally planned to reap the benefits of the battle. They didn't. But when he thought about it, it was all for naught. Great. A portion of the experts chose to leave Dilua City and prepared to return home. Female June also let out a sigh of relief. She thought that she had finally escaped a calamity. But she became nervous again when a voice transmission entered her mind. She looked at Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yin Chenzi, who were eyeing her covetously. She felt bitter. She knew that the three of them were still suspicious of her. It seems that I can't leave Dilua City for a while. June sighed in her heart. Old Man Ming Deng and the others had told her to stay first. They still had to examine her. Only she was truly safe after Old Man Ming Deng and the other suspicions disappeared. On the other hand, Suzhou, Ziyu, and the others weren't in a hurry to leave Dilua City. Instead, they settled down in a secluded inn in Dilua City. Although Dilua City was almost destroyed because of the battle, there were still a few parts that were intact. Because the inn owner and workers had fled, they didn't need to pay to stay in the inn. It was completely free. The five of them entered the largest room. After Suzhou confirmed that there was no one near the inn, he began to set up a silencing restriction in the room. Ziyu, the mysterious woman, and the others watched silently and didn't disturb Suzhou. They faintly guessed that what Suzhou was going to say next should be extremely important. After confirming that there was no mistake, Suzhou went to the round table in the center of the room. He took out a communication jade talisman from his waist and placed it on the table. Zhuan sent me a message. Suzhou's soft words were like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone trembled in shock. What? So Zhuan isn't dead? Ha ha! Ziyu was the most excited and couldn't help but exclaim loudly. The middle-aged man and the old man also let out a sigh of relief. They had relaxed smiles on their faces. Zhuan was not dead, which meant that Zhuan's map fragment was still there. This also meant that their efforts during this period of time were not in vain. This child did not use the Eye of the Void and was actually able to escape from the encirclement of the handsome girls. Moreover, he made Envy think that he had fallen. I really don't know how he got here. Ziyu muttered doubtfully. We have underestimated Zhuan. It seems that his methods are more powerful than we thought. Now, let's take a look at the content of his message. Suzhou stretched out his right hand and tapped the jade communication talisman on the table. The jade talisman glowed with a blazing white light, and words began to appear one after another. Brother Suzhou, I'm free. The message in the talisman was very simple. There were only a few words. Brother Suzhou, can you ask where he is now? It's time for him to fulfill the agreement. Ziyu urged anxiously. Voide nodded and sent a message to Zhuowen, asking for his location. Very soon, Zhuowen sent another message. It's not convenient at the moment. I'll contact you again after this period of time passes. What? This fellow still wants a delay? Ziyu asked. Yu was flustered and exasperated. She hurriedly sent a message to Zhuowen to meet up with them immediately. Unfortunately, Ziyu's message was like a stone sinking into the sea. There was no response at all. In a sea of trees billions of miles northwest of Wujing Mountain, a figure stood on a huge rock in the depths of the sea of trees. He held the jade communication talisman in his right hand and silently glanced at the message Ziyu sent him. He sneered but did not reply. Instead, he put the jade communication talisman back on his waist. He was Zhuowen. After he quietly left the Luo city through the transmission formation, he continued to run without stopping until he was far enough away from the sea of trees. This sea of trees was extremely vast. There was a strange fog lingering all year round. Even a great Xiaoyao cultivator would easily get lost here. Because the strange fog in the forest had the ability to confuse the soul consciousness, Zhuowen was relatively safe hiding in this place. Under the boulder, Jiu Yuan was gasping for breath. Sure, Fu, you even dare to provoke a strong cultivator like the handsome female warrior. Aren't you afraid that you won't have a place to stay in the Nuar region in the future? Zhuowen glanced at Jiu Yuan and did not correct the latter's address to him. He silently shook his head in his heart. If Jiu Yuan knew that he not only provoked the handsome female warrior, but also slaughtered most of the strong cultivators of the Nuar region and offended many super strong cultivators of the Nuar region, who knows how Jiu Yuan would feel. We'll retreat here for a while. During this time, you'd better disguise yourself and go out to help me inquire about the news. If you do well to my satisfaction, I'll consider accepting you as a disciple. Zhuowen said lightly. Jiu Yuan, who was still a little unwilling, immediately became more energetic after hearing this sentence. Also, take this sword with you. Zhuowen took out the Taiyu sacred sword and secretly sent a message to Xiao He, asking it to supervise him. After that, he sat cross-legged on the boulder and began to cultivate. He had just broken through the great tribulation of heaven and earth and had experienced several great battles. His injuries had increased by a lot, and his realm was faintly showing signs of slipping. If he did not consolidate his realm, it would be easy to leave behind hidden dangers, which would be a huge problem for his future cultivation. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. This Jiu Yuan returned 3 times during this period, and all he brought back was good news. Zhuowen also knew that what happened in the Wujing Mountains had spread throughout the Nuar region. Almost all the cultivators in the Nuar region knew what happened in the Wujing Mountains, and they firmly remembered the name Zhuowen. Everyone in the Nuar region also believed that Zhuowen had self-destructed under the handsome female warrior's encirclement. After hearing this news, Zhuowen finally relaxed. It seemed that the humanoid puppet had fooled the handsome female warrior. He knew very well that without the handsome female warrior's cooperation, the news of his death might not have been believed. But with the handsome female warrior as a witness, no one would doubt it. Then 3 months passed, and suddenly, a powerful ripple of energy appeared in the vast forest. The dense clouds that lingered above the forest suddenly spread out in all directions in a ring-shaped manner. From afar, one could see that the clouds above the forest were spiraling downward in the shape of an inverted funnel. A magnificent aura soared into the sky. But this aura came and went quickly, and it did not attract the attention of the nearby creatures. In the depths of the sea, Zhuowen slowly stood up from the huge rock. His eyes flickered with a blazing radiance that was dazzling. How lucky! Not only did I consolidate my realm, but I also broke through to the middle stage of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. Zhuowen murmured to himself, his eyes full of joy. He knew that the reason why he could break through so quickly was that the tribulation energy of his great tribulation of heaven and earth was too powerful, and the energy it fed back to him was also very powerful. Therefore, he could break through again in such a short time. Now, he had absorbed all the tribulation energy. If he wanted to break through again, it would not be as easy as it was now. Chapter 4307. Jiu Yuan, Shanling Yun, Xiao He, and others, who had been waiting for a long time, came up to welcome them. Master is above. Please accept a bow from your disciple. As soon as Jiu Yuan walked up, he immediately knelt on the ground with a serious face. Xiao He, Shanling Yun, and others had a painful expression. This Jiu Yuan was a white-haired old man. At first glance, he was a highly respected person. Now, he knelt on the ground without any integrity to worship Zhuowen as his master. His face was really thick. Zhuowen looked helplessly at Jiu Yuan, who was kneeling on the ground. Thinking that Jiu Yuan did his best to collect information from the outside world during this period of time, he sighed silently and said, Jiu Yuan, you get up first. Follow me first. As long as it is about formations, we can occasionally discuss with each other. Jiu Yuan suddenly raised his head. On his wrinkled old face, there were tears. He cried without any integrity, Master, are you not going to accept me? Zhuowen scratched his temples and said helplessly, you see, you're not young anymore, and I am so young and beautiful. It is not appropriate for you to call me master, right? As soon as Zhuowen finished speaking, Shanling Yun, who was not far away, was unhappy. Why is it inappropriate? I look much younger than you, disciple. Don't you call me master too? But in terms of actual age, you are definitely not as good as me. Disciple, I warn you, don't judge people by their appearance. Don't look at Jiu Yuan. He looks like an old man. Maybe he is not as old as you. It is just that he looks more anxious. Shanling Yun put her hands on her hips and glared at Zhuowen. Then, she turned to look at Jiu Yuan and smiled sweetly. Jiu Yuan, I am Zhuowen's master. Since you recognize him as master, then you are my grand disciple. Come, call me grandmaster. Jiu Yuan looked at the little lowly in front of him. The sweat on his forehead suddenly became a lot more lush. He smiled bitterly and shouted, Grandmaster is good. Hey, good girl. Shanling Yun's large eyes turned into crescents as she smiled. After that, she turned to look at Zhuowen, and her expression instantly became much more solemn as she said, Disciple, he has already called me martial ancestor. What do you think we should do? Zhuowen smiled bitterly. What else could he do? He could only accept them. Well, the Jiu Yuan, get up. Then I'll accept you as my disciple. Zhuowen said. The Jiu Yuan's eyes lit up with hope, and he kowtowed to thank him. All right, now that you are my disciple, there is no need for thanks between master and disciple. Zhuowen waved his hand and said, Disciple, did you find any clues about your lover in the 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Mountain in the Black Gold Mountain Range? Shanling Yun suddenly asked. Zhuowen nodded and gently opened his right palm. On his palm, there was a platinum pentagram mark. It was the key to enter the Starlight World, and the only way for him to get in touch with the Colored Mud. At the beginning, the Colored Mud said that after he successfully left the Black Gold Mountain Range, she would tell him the specific location of Mo Yen Wushan. Zhuowen took a deep breath and began to communicate with the platinum star mark on his palm. Soon, his consciousness began to blur. Dang! After his consciousness woke up, he found that he had appeared in a vast and boundless world full of starlight. In front of the endless starlight, a 7-colored pagoda was suspended in front of Zhuowen, while on the top of the pagoda, a thumb-sized little girl wearing a 7-color dress was sitting there crisply. She was rolling her eyes and looking at Zhuowen. Kai and I, you summoned me into the starlight world? Does this count as one of the 3 times? Zhuowen quickly asked. Kai and I rolled our eyes again and said, You only entered the starlight world with your consciousness. It does not count as one of the 3 times. You called me because you want to know the location of the other inheritor, right? Wen nodded, and his expression became excited. He spent so much effort to break into the 7 emotions and 6 desires mountain. Wasn't it to find Mo Yin Wu Shang? Kai Nai Kai and I stroked her white chin and said, in my senses, the other inheritor is no longer in the Nuwa domain. Wait a moment, let me deduce it. With that, Kai and I sat cross-legged on the top of the pagoda. The surrounding starlight began to spontaneously sweep towards Kai and I, and after a certain distance from Kai and I, it began to rotate regularly. After an unknown period of time, the starlight that was originally rotating around Kai and I suddenly collapsed. Countless starlight rushed up like a storm and then scattered and combined together in a regular pattern. In the end, these starlight formed a map. The shape of this map was similar to a crouching tiger on the ground. In the map, there were large rivers, towering mountains, basins, cities, and other terrains and buildings. Which domain is this? Zhuan looked seriously at the map that was purely composed of starlight in front of him. He felt that it was somewhat familiar and recognized that it should be a map of a domain. In the center of this map, there was a huge city standing. The light of this city was the brightest and most dazzling in the entire map. Zhuan's gaze fell on the magnificent city gate in front of this city. On top of the gate, there was a huge plaque hanging. On the plaque were the words Void Yama City. Void Yama City? Isn't this the most central city of the Void Yama domain? Wen's pupil shrank. He immediately recognized that this map was actually a map of the Void Yama domain. In the past, he had read a rough map of the 100 domains outside the domain, and he still had some impression of most of the domain maps. In addition, there was a landmark like the Void Yama City, so Zhuan immediately recalled. At this moment, the map formed by starlight collapsed with a loud bang. Countless starlight scattered again and scattered to every corner of the starlight world. Kai and I also slowly opened her eyes. She looked at Zhuan and said, Kid, did you see it clearly? The other inheritor is in the Void Yama City of the Void Yama domain. Zhuan cupped his fists at Kai and I and said, Thank you. Kai and I curled her lips and waved her hand impatiently. This is what I promised before. Well, now you can leave. As soon as the voice fell, Zhuan's consciousness blurred again. When he woke up again, he found that he was no longer in the starlight world, but in the depths of the forest. In front of him, Jiu Yuan, Shan Lingyun, and Xiao He were looking at his face doubtfully, as if there was something on his face. What are you looking at? Zhuan blurted out after he woke up. 3 people were shocked and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Shan Lingyun said, We thought you were possessed just now. Suddenly you stood there with your eyes closed and didn't move. No matter how we called you, you didn't move. I was just thinking about something. Zhuan casually found an excuse to fool them, but he was thinking about other things in his heart. Since Mo Yin Wu Shang was in the Void Yama City of the Void Yama domain, then it seemed that he needed to go to the Void Yama domain. And he remembered that Su Zhou came from the Void Yama domain, and it just so happened that he had reached an agreement with Su Zhou about the map fragment. If he gave the map fragment to Su Zhou should take him to the Void Yama domain to help him break through again. Thinking of this, Zhuan took out the communication jade and began to contact Su Zhou. On the other side, Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others were still waiting for Zhuan's news in Zhaotian City near the Wujin Mountains. Chapter 43:08. This is outrageous. It's already been half a year. There's no news from Zhuan at all. Is he planning to stand us up? Ziyu slammed the table in the room and said angrily. The other 4 people in the room also didn't look very good. Because of Zhuan's words, they had waited here for half a year. Now, there was no news from Zhuan. He didn't even send a message. This made them suspect that Zhuan had taken the map fragment and slipped away. Shuzhou Zhou sat to the side. His face was as calm as water, and he didn't say a word. Suddenly, the communication jade talisman at his waist lit up. Everyone immediately quieted down and stared at the communication jade talisman at Su Zhou's waist. Su Zhou took out the communication jade talisman. When he saw the sender's name, his eyes immediately became excited. He said in a deep voice, It's from Zhuan. He's finally here. Ziyu also muttered to herself excitedly. Suzhou opened the jade talisman. After reading the message, he couldn't help but smile. Zhuowen has come out of seclusion. He intends to fulfill our agreement. He wants us to arrange a meeting place. Everyone in the room sighed. They were waiting for Zhuowen to say this. They hadn't waited for half a year in vain. Where should we meet up? Ziyu asked. It's definitely not near Wujin Mountain Range. Let's go there. Suzhou thought for a while and discussed with the others. After they finally decided on the meeting place, the 5 of them set off. At the same time, Zhuowen, who was far away in the forest, also received Suzhou's message. I didn't expect to choose there. Well, after we meet there, it's more convenient to leave the Yuhua domain. Suzhou put away the jade talisman and instructed Shan Lingyun and Jiu Yuan. The 3 of them disguised themselves and left the forest, although he said that the news of Zhuowen's death had spread across the Yuhua realm. Theoretically, Zhuowen was relatively safe now. However, Zhuowen didn't dare let his guard down. Once he was recognized, then he would have to face the joint attack of most of the forces of the Yuhua clan. At that time, he would really be unable to escape. Zhuowen brought Shan Lingyun and the Jiu Yuan this time, while Duan Jiping's injuries had not yet healed, and he was still recuperating in the big world. The 3 of them headed north and quickly approached the northern border of the Yuhua realm. According to the message Suzhou sent to Zhuowen, the meeting place was a small, nameless city at the northern border of Yuhua realm. This is the name of the small city was Mo Bay City, and it was the most remote city in the Yuhua realm. The chaos energy was extremely scarce, and very few cultivators stayed in this city. Most of them were poor cultivators and mortals who had yet to attain their Tao. 2 days later, Zhuowen and the other 2 arrived at Mo Bay City. The city walls of Mo Bay City were extremely low, and the area was not large. From afar, it looked like an inconspicuous small mound. On the other hand, Mo Bay City was surrounded by towering ice mountains. The tall snowy mountains and the small city formed a stark contrast. Zhuowen didn't rashly enter Mo Bay City. He observed outside the city for a while, and after confirming that there was no ambush in Mo Bay City, he brought Shan Lingyun and the Jiu Yuan into the city. The city gate of Mo Bay City was not big, and the guards of the city gate were dressed in rags. They stood on both sides of the gate in a crooked manner. They did not even look at Zhuo Wan and the other 2 before letting them in. This Mo Bay City is too shabby. Even the guards are so dispirited. Any random cultivator would be able to break through this small city. Shan Lingyun couldn't help but ridicule. You also know that this Mo Bay City is shabby. There must be nothing good in this place. What cultivator would be willing to attack this shabby city? The Jiu Yuan quickly said. Shan Lingyun glared at the Jiu Yuan. The latter shrank his head, showed a flattering smile, and quickly slapped his mouth. Zhuowen turned his head and glared at the 2. The 2 were bickering, shrank their heads, and giggled. Soon, Zhuowen came to the city lord's residence of Mo Bay City. This city lord's residence looked quite shabby, a bit like an ordinary attic. May I ask if you are Zhuodarin? The 2 guards at the gate of the city lord's residence saw Zhuowen and the other 2 from afar. They quickly stepped forward and asked. Yes. Zhuowen nodded gently. Then follow me. One of the guards quickly led Zhuowen and the other 2 into the city lord's residence. After crossing several corridors, Zhuowen came to a garden in the city lord's residence under the guidance of the guard. In the garden rockery, there was a mechanism. The guard opened the mechanism, and a tunnel that led to the depths of the ground appeared in the rockery. The 3 of you, Zhuodarin, ordered us to send you here. Next, you need to walk by yourself. Follow this tunnel to the end, and you will reach the bottom. The guard respectfully bowed and left the garden. Zhuowen, on the other hand, entered the tunnel after checking that there were no traps in the tunnel. The tunnel was not deep. In less than a quarter of an hour, the 3 of them reached the secret room at the bottom of the tunnel. Brother Zhuo, you are finally here? Zhuowen had just entered the secret room when he heard a hearty voice. Zhuowen looked up and found that the secret room was quite spacious. The decorations inside were also very luxurious. In the center of the secret room, Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the mysterious woman were sitting on red sandalwood chairs on both sides. A middle-aged man was standing on the side, cautiously. Seeing Zhuowen come in, Su Zhou quickly stood up and walked over to greet him. Ziyu coldly glanced at Zhuowen. She still sat there calmly and had no intention of getting up to greet him, while the middle-aged man sitting next to Ziyu also looked on coldly. His attitude was surprisingly the same as Ziyu's. On the other hand, the mysterious woman and the other old man followed Su Zhou to greet them. I've been in seclusion for the past 6 months to consolidate my cultivation. You also know that I've experienced several big battles. If my cultivation isn't stable, it's in danger of slipping down. Zhuowen cupped his hands and smiled. Su Zhou waved his hand and said, Brother Zhuo, you're treating me like an outsider. I've always believed that you're a person who keeps his promises. Not to mention half a year, even if it's 10 years or 100 years, I'm willing to wait. Zhuowen smiled and didn't care about Su Zhou's polite words. His gaze fell on the mysterious woman standing not far away from Su Zhou. Hello, we meet again. Zhuowen smiled. Wu was this woman who had handed the Eye of the Void to him in the Golden Mountain Range. She had also given him an extremely precious healing medicine. Zhuowen was extremely grateful to her. The mysterious woman nodded lightly and said, I've said it before. I'm only doing what I was asked to do. My name is Lianrong. My teacher is the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy's Saint Master Qing Lian. Zhuowen's pupils constricted, and he looked at the mysterious woman in surprise. He didn't expect that this mysterious woman called Lianrong was actually from the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy. As for the so-called Saint Master Qing Lian, Zhuowen had no idea at all. But Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others all widened their eyes in shock. Chapter 4309. Lord Lianrong, you're actually Saint Master Qing Lian's disciple? Why didn't you mention it before? Su Zhou asked in surprise. Zhuowen didn't know the Saint Master's position in the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy, but Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others were very clear. There were a total of 9 Saint Masters in the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy, and they were in charge of the 9 sacred courtyards of the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy. Their statuses were lofty and almost unattainable. The 9 Saint Master statuses were second only to the extremely mysterious Dean. They were the overseers of the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy on the surface. As for the cultivation and strength of the 9 Saint Masters, they stood at the peak of the 100 outer regions. However, what they were most famous for was not their strength, but rather their godly ability to educate. It was said that even animals that were born slow-witted could instantly gain intelligence under the guidance of the Saint Masters. As for extremely talented geniuses, under the guidance of the Saint Masters, their future achievements would surpass the shackles of their own talent and reach a higher level. It was precisely because of the Sacred Master's ability to enlighten that countless geniuses from the Outer Realm's 100 territories wanted to enter the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy. They hoped that one day they would be valued by the Sacred Master and receive his guidance. However, the Saint Masters were supreme existences in the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy. If a genius couldn't enter the Saint Master's eyes, then it would be impossible to receive their guidance, let alone become the Saint Master's personal disciple. Once one became the Saint Master's personal disciple, their future would be limitless. However, the Saint Masters were extremely picky. As long as there was the slightest flaw, he wouldn't casually accept a disciple. Therefore, the disciples that the Saint Masters accepted were basically perfect geniuses in the eyes of the outside world. In other words, they were the so-called super geniuses. Over countless years, the number of disciples that the 9 Saint Masters accepted could be counted on one hand. Although there weren't many, all of them had become true top-notch experts under the guidance of their respective Saint Masters. Their reputations spread far and wide, and their names shook the 100 territories. Lianrong was actually the personal disciple of one of the 9 Saint Masters, Saint Master Qing Lian. Just this identity alone was enough for her to do whatever she wanted in the 100 territories. She restrained her expression and glanced at Su Zhou and the others before saying, "I was just taken in by Master not long ago. Moreover, you should more or less understand my personality. I don't like to make a big fuss about it, and there's no need for me to say it." Su Zhou and Ziyu looked at each other bitterly. They could be considered old acquaintances with Lien Rong. They more or less understood Lien Rong's cold personality. So, they weren't too surprised when Lien Rong said this. Zhuowen observed the expressions of Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others. He could also see that the sage master that Lien Rong mentioned should be extremely powerful. Lien Rong ignored Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the other shock. Her beautiful phoenix eyes landed on Zhuowen. "Zhuowen, I've been observing you all this time. Your natural talent and strength aren't inferior to Sakyamuni, who shook the 100 territories all those years ago. Moreover, what's even more commendable is that you're the one with the supreme Tao root who broke the taboo. In countless years, you're the only one who broke the taboo. If you go back with me, I believe that my master will be very interested in you and will take you in as a disciple." Lien Rong looked at Zhuowen and spoke sincerely. Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others' expressions changed slightly. Although they knew that Lien Rong had noticed Zhuowen from the beginning, they didn't expect her to give Zhuowen such a high evaluation. If Zhuowen successfully entered the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy and was taken in as a disciple by Sage Master Qinglian, his status would immediately change. Zhuowen was extremely calm. From Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others' expressions, he could see that Lien Rong's suggestion was extremely beneficial to him. However, Zhuowen also had his own hesitation. He had too many secrets on him, especially the Archean primordial chant, which was a shocking cultivation method. If he entered the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy and was taken in as a personal disciple by the sage master behind Lien Rong, then there was an extremely great danger that his secrets would be exposed. After all, the sage master status was there. His strength was outstanding, and his insight wasn't something that ordinary experts could compare to. However, Zhuowen also knew that joining the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy also had great benefits. After all, it was the largest power in the 100 territories outside the 100 territories. Its deep foundation that had existed since ancient times was enough to make it easier for him to raise his cultivation. "Miss Lien Rong, I need to consider," Zhuowen said after pondering for a moment. Lien Rong frowned slightly. Zhuowen's reaction was far beyond her expectations. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been wild with joy and trembled with excitement after receiving an invitation from the Sage Master's personal disciple. But Zhuowen was still so calm and had even rejected her indifferently. "Consider? Are you sure you need to consider?" Lien Rong thought that she had misheard and asked again. Zhuowen nodded. "Yes, I do need to consider." Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the other three speechlessly looked at Zhuowen, who was seriously considering. They wailed in their hearts. Why didn't this opportunity come to them? Lien Rong was rather unhappy, but she didn't show it on the surface. She took out a green token and handed it to Zhuowen. "This is my recommendation token. If you've thought it through, take this recommendation token and come to the Archean Heavenly Tao Academy's Qinglian Sacred Tao Academy to find me. I still have things to do, so I'll leave first. Su Zhou, I'll leave the matter of the map fragment to you. I hope you won't disappoint me." After Lien Rong finished speaking, she didn't wait for Zhuowen's reply. She lightly tapped the void with her jade feet and disappeared along with spatial ripples. Su Zhou hurriedly bowed in the direction that Lien Rong left and then came to Zhuowen's side. He said helplessly, "Brother Zhuowen, that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lord Lien Rong thinks so highly of you, and your talent is not weak either. If she were Saint Master Qing Lian, if you put in a few good words in front of her, you will be fellow disciples." Zhuowen's gaze was calm. "Brother Su Zhou, I didn't refuse. I just said that I'll consider it. If I've really thought it through, I'll naturally look for Lady Lien Rong." Su Zhou shook his head and cursed in his heart. "You've already missed the best opportunity to reject that lady in person. It's already good that she didn't flip out in front of you. Do you really think you're a big shot? Next time, even if you've thought it through, she won't speak up for you like this. Zhuowen naturally didn't know what Su Zhou was thinking. He took out the map fragment and handed it to Su Zhou. This is the map fragment of the Wujin mountain range. According to our previous agreement, you said that it can help me break through the peak of the universe tribulation, right? Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the other three looked at the map fragment in Zhuowen's hand and couldn't help but widen their eyes. Their eyes flickered with excitement. Of course. Brother Zhuo, you're really good. Now, give me the map fragment. Su Zhou couldn't help but reach out his right hand to grab the map fragment in Zhuowen's hand, but Zhuowen dodged it. Wait, according to the agreement, you also need to help Duan Jiping improve his cultivation. You should know this, right? Zhuowen asked indifferently. Su Zhou frowned slightly and said in a low voice, Brother Zhuo, Su Zhou, have never gone back on my word. This time is no different. If Brother Zhuo is worried, I can swear a heavenly Tao oath. With that, Su Zhou deftly swore a heavenly Tao oath. Chapter 43:10. In the Void Yama realm, there is a famous divine void mountain. In every corner of the divine void mountain, there are many divine void springs. These divine void springs can greatly increase the cultivation speed of cultivators below the defying ancient star rank. The family behind me is in charge of Xian realm. They have some Shinshu springs. I can bring the two of you into the Shinshu springs controlled by my family to cultivate until you break through. Su Zhou looked at Zhuowen. Shinshu springs? Okay, deal. Zhuowen nodded and threw the map fragment to Su Zhou. He had also heard of the Shinshu Springs. It was one of the many treasured lands in Shuyan realm and was quite famous. In addition, Su Zhou had made a heavenly oath, so Zhuowen let down all his guard and straightforwardly handed over the map fragment to Su Zhou. After Su Zhou took the map fragment, he hurriedly opened it and checked it repeatedly. Ziyu, the old man, and the middle-aged man also hurriedly came over. After the appraisal was correct, they were all wild with joy. After many twists and turns, in the chaos of countless experts fighting for it, they had the last laugh. Zhuowen silently looked at the excited Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the other three. His expression was calm. If it wasn't for the fact that the colored mud told him that Moyan Wushang was in Xian Divine City and that Su Zhou came from Xian Realm, Zhuowen didn't intend to give the map fragment to Su Zhou. The colored mud's news also made Zhuowen change his mind. After all, if he wanted to find Moyan Wushang, he might need to rely on the power behind Su Zhou. Brother Zhuo, you are weak now. Although your talent and strength are strong enough, you still don't have the ability to keep the map fragment. How about this? How about you give the other map fragment to us? Don't worry, we will give you enough. We will reward you. After Su Zhou put away the map fragment, he exchanged glances with Ziyu and turned to Zhuowen. Brother Su Zhou, I have a use for the first map fragment. I won't use it as a bargaining chip, Zhuowen said with a frown. Before Su Zhou could speak, Ziyu couldn't help but sneer. Zhuowen, you're wanted by many experts right now. If they know that you're not dead, what do you think will happen to you? Zhuowen looked coldly at Ziyu. You're threatening me? Ziyu looked like a petty person intoxicated with success. She cast a sidelong glance at Zhuowen. Threatening? Sorry, I'm just stating the facts. For a rogue cultivator like you with no background. So what if your talent is strong? The superpowers of the super domains can send out any one of them. Any expert can crush you to death. It's a waste for the map fragments to be in your hands. The wisest thing for you to do is to hand over the second map fragment. This way, you won't be in danger of being hunted down. Zhuowen's eyes gradually narrowed. He couldn't help but step back. But just as his right foot took a step back, the middle-aged man behind Zhuowen silently circled behind him and blocked his path of retreat. Brother Su Zhou, what do you mean by this? Do you want to break your promise? Zhuowen felt the powerful aura of the middle-aged man behind him, and his hair stood on end. He turned to question Su Zhou. Su Zhou and the old man stood to the side. They had no intention of interfering. Seeing Zhuowen's question, Su Zhou calmly said, "Brother Zhuowen, did you misunderstand something? I did have an agreement with you, and I also made a heavenly oath. But this agreement is only between you and me. It has nothing to do with Brother Ziyu. Yes, and in the agreement, it didn't say that I have to help you when you're in danger, right? Also, I think Brother Ziyu is right. You can't keep the other map fragment. You should hand it over to Brother Ziyu. Their clan also has control over the map. If you agree to his request, you can also enter his clan's treasured land to cultivate. Why not?" Zhuowen's expression completely turned cold. He knew that he had been played. It seemed that Su Zhou and Ziyu had already planned this. They were just waiting for him to jump into the trap they had prepared. "What if I don't hand it over?" Zhuowen said gloomily. Su Zhou only smiled and didn't speak. Ziyu smiled sinisterly. "If you don't hand it over, then don't think about leaving today." Zhuowen had just finished speaking when the old man behind Su Zhou stepped forward and blocked Zhuowen from the other side. His powerful aura locked onto Zhuowen. Two peak Dharma adepts of the universe surrounded Zhuowen, causing the pressure on him to increase. Although Nu was also a peak Dharma adept of the universe, the reason why he could escape from Nu was because he had the right time, place, and people. If not for these, he wouldn't have been able to escape so easily. And now, facing two peak Dharma adepts of the universe, Zhuowen's sense of danger increased greatly. Boom, boom. The middle-aged man and the old man both summoned their respective Dharma adepts. Instantly, the space within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles collapsed. The pitiful Mabe city couldn't withstand the pressure of the two Dharma adepts and was directly crushed into ruins. And all the living things in Mabe city were completely annihilated. They couldn't be more dead. Zhuowen stood in the middle of the ruins. The middle-aged man and the old man surrounded Zhuowen, one in front and one behind. Their huge Dharma adepts looked down at Zhuowen from above. The two of them didn't dare to be negligent. After all, Zhuowen had escaped unscathed from Nu. This person was as cunning as a fox. They couldn't let their guard down. "Attack!" Ziyu shouted. The middle-aged man and the old man attacked together. Their terrifying auras were like erupting volcanoes that rushed into the sky. The two Dharma adepts waved their huge arms and smashed down like mountains towards Zhuowen on the ground. The two Dharma adepts' attacks were extremely tricky and unpredictable. They almost blocked all of Zhuowen's escape routes, forcing him to face the attacks head-on. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The strong wind was like sharp knives that wantonly rushed towards Zhuowen's face, sweeping up his messy long hair. Boom, boom, boom. The two arms finally smashed down, and the entire ground resounded with a terrifying explosive sound. It resounded continuously, reverberating throughout the entire space, rumbling nonstop. The middle-aged man and the old man slowly retracted their Dharma adept's arms. A bottomless pit appeared where Zhuowen had been standing. At the bottom of the pit, magma surged. The blazing heat shot into the sky, as if it could vaporize space. That Zhuowen's aura disappeared. Did he die just like that? The middle-aged man and the old man looked at each other, a little surprised. This Zhuowen was a bit too weak. If this kid only had this little bit of ability, then how could the handsome woman not be able to capture him and be played around by him in the end? I thought this person was very powerful. It turns out that in front of a pinnacle Dharma adept, he still can't withstand a single blow. Z laughed proudly. Su Zhou, who was standing not far away, frowned slightly. He felt that something was strange. He didn't think that Zhuowen was a match for a pinnacle Dharma adept, but he also didn't think that Zhuowen would be so easily dealt with. Su Zhou's gaze shifted slightly, and he glanced at Ziyu. He found that there was a large puddle of water on the ground not far from Ziyu's feet. Chapter 43:11. Ziyu watched as the attacks of the two pinnacle Dharma adepts of the universe finally landed where Zhuowen was and blasted a bottomless pit. She couldn't help but reveal a happy smile. In her eyes, Zhuowen would be seriously injured even if he didn't die under the joint attack of the two pinnacle Dharma phase experts of the universe. After they captured Zhuan alive, she had the means to use all kinds of torture to force out the whereabouts of the other piece of the map. Thinking of this, Ziyu's smile became even brighter. The curve of her lips became even deeper. Not good. Brother Ziyu is in danger. Quickly dodge. Ziyu was feeling the proudest when Su Zhou's shout rang out. He suddenly looked at Su Zhou and found that the latter was looking behind him in horror. Ziyu knew that things weren't good. She turned her head and immediately saw the human-shaped water stain behind him. The lines on the surface of the human-shaped water stain quickly became clearer and clearer. Then, an unforgettable face appeared in front of her. Chua, Zhuan? You? Ziyu looked like she had seen a ghost. Her eyes were wide open. She looked incredulously at the smiling youth in front of her. You seem to be smiling very happily when you see me die. Zhuan's smile became even brighter. But in Ziyu's eyes, this smile was like a death sentence that made her extremely uncomfortable and stiff. Perpeyu's face was pale. He didn't speak anymore and quickly retreated. But unfortunately, Zhuan was already prepared. He suddenly punched Ziyu's body. Pooh! Chi! Ziyu spat out a mouthful of blood. She arched her back like a cooked shrimp from Zhuan's punch. Purple after all, Yu was only at the pinnacle of gushing. Before Zhuan broke through the Chinquan Great Tribulation, he could easily crush Ziyu. Now, Zhuan was already at the middle stage of the Chinquan Great Tribulation. Capturing Ziyu was just a matter of reaching out his hand. While Ziyu was enduring the severe pain in her abdomen, Zhuan's right hand was like a pair of pliers that fiercely pinched Ziyu's neck. Surging energy spread to Ziyu's 8 meridians like ropes, imprisoning Ziyu's entire body. Hara Ziyu, who was still fiercely struggling, suddenly rolled his eyes when the energy entered his meridians. The intense pain made him scream miserably. His body twitched crazily. You, let go of young Master Zio. In the distance, the middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. He urged his huge cosmic avatar to charge madly at Zhuan. On the other hand, the old man was much calmer. He didn't charge over with the middle-aged man. Instead, he retreated to Su Zhou's side and protected him at all times. Zhuan looked at the middle-aged man who was getting closer and closer. His lips curled into an imperceptible sneer. He suddenly raised his right hand, and Ziyu was forced to face the middle-aged man. If you dare to take another step forward, do you believe that I will immediately kill Ziyu? Zhuan's voice was terrifyingly calm. He looked coldly at the middle-aged man who was charging over. The strength in his right hand became heavier and heavier. Ziyu, who was being held in his hand, was flushed red. Her face was full of pain. Fruit indeed. Under Zhuowen's threat, the originally aggressive middle-aged man calmed down and hurriedly stopped his footsteps. Then kill yourself to atone for your crimes. Only then can your sins be washed away. The middle-aged man said angrily. Are you forcing me to kill Ziyu? Zhuowen teased. Don't be rude. Ziyu quickly transmitted to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man called Ji Ho's side in his heart, but he didn't dare to disobey Ziyu's orders. He looked at Zhuowen and snorted coldly. What do you want in order to let young Master Ziyu go? Very simple. All of you retreat 500 million kilometers. Zhuowen said lightly. 500 million kilometers? Zhou frowned. He looked deeply at Zhuowen and continued. Brother Zhuowen, we were just joking. You don't have to take it to heart. Let Brother Ziyu go. After all, Ziyu's background isn't any weaker than mine. You'd better not hurt him. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Retreat? Otherwise, Ziyu will die. Zhuowen didn't even look at Su Zhou. Instead, he looked at the panicking Ji Ho and spoke in a voice as cold as a knife. Ji Ho glanced at Ziyu, nodded, and started to retreat. Clang! When he retreated to Su Zhou and the old man's side, he hesitated for a moment before cupping his fists. Both of you, nothing must happen to young Master Ziyu. Otherwise, I'm afraid he will be implicated. Please give me some face and retreat with me. Although Ji Ho's tone was polite, he didn't restrain his aura at all. It was tightly locked onto the old man and Su Zhou. Shuzhou and the old man's faces were gloomy. They knew that if they didn't agree, Jiho would most likely attack them and force them to retreat. They weren't very afraid of Jiho. What they were most afraid of was that if they really clashed with Jiho, Zhuowen would likely take advantage of the situation. At that time, even Su Zhou would be kidnapped by him. "All right, I'll retreat with you," Su said. Zhou had naturally considered this situation as well. He coldly glanced at Zhuowen, and under the protection of the old man, he slowly retreated with Jiho. The three of them retreated all the way to a mountain peak 500 million kilometers away before stopping. This range happened to be the limit of Jiho and the old man's divine senses. In other words, they didn't know how Zhuowen and Ziyu were 500 million kilometers away. This person is as cunning as a fox and cautious. He actually found a countermeasure so quickly in the face of the sudden situation just now. What a terrifying person, Jiho said with a gloomy face. "We've miscalculated this time. The secret skill that this person mastered is really impossible to guard against. We didn't even notice when he appeared beside Brother Zio," Su exclaimed. Zhou rubbed his forehead with a slight headache. He had thought that everything would go smoothly and be under his control. But he didn't expect that things would develop in a completely out-of-control direction. This person sent us away to escape. I just don't know if he'll let young Master Zio go, Jiho said worriedly. Suzhou sneered. "Let Zio go? Jiho, you're too naive. Zio is Zhuowen's bargaining chip now. It's equivalent to a death exemption gold medal. Think about it. If you had a death exemption gold medal, would you easily return it to the original owner?" Jiho's expression changed slightly. He took a deep breath and smiled bitterly. "So what? Do I have any other choice now? If I don't do as he says, young Master Zio will die on the spot. Now, at least I can confirm that young Master Zio is still safe." Zhou didn't answer Jiho. Instead, he gave the old man beside him a look and spoke telepathically. "Elderling, I remember that old man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yin Shinzi haven't left Niwa domain yet." Elderling glanced at Jiho, who was still secretly worried about Ziyu, and replied telepathically, "Yes, the three of them don't really believe that Zhuowen died just like that. They said that they want to see him if he's alive or dead. They even went to Niwa City to look for clan leader Niwa. They should still be in Niwa City now." Chapter 43:12. Okay, now secretly send a message to the three of them. Tell them that Zhuowen isn't dead and that he's nearby. Tell them to act secretly. This time we must kill this Zhuowen. Suzhou's eyes flashed with a cold light. He felt more and more threatened by Zhuowen, and in addition to Lien Rong's high regard for Zhuowen, this caused Suzhou to feel a deep jealousy toward Zhuowen, and his killing intent toward Zhuowen was getting stronger and stronger. "Should we discuss this with Jiho?" Elderling looked at Jiho, who was still standing in front anxiously. Suzhou shook his head. "We can't tell Jiho about this. Once we do, he definitely won't agree. After all, if old man Ming Deng and the others really find out that Zhuowen is here, they won't care about Ziyu's life or death. And once Jiho finds out, he will definitely become an obstacle to us." Elderling nodded. He took advantage of Jiho's days to pass on the information about Zhuowen to old man Ming Deng and the others. Female in a secret place in the core of Niwa Domain, there was a huge divine city. This divine city was the birthplace of Niwa Domain's core power, the Niwa clan, Niwa Divine City. At this moment, in the great shrine of Niwa Divine City, Huangju, who had been in seclusion for a long time, was forced to come out of seclusion to greet three uninvited guests. These three uninvited guests were none other than the bright lamp old man and his two companions who refused to give up. Although the three of them were only at the pinnacle of the universe's Dharma plane, and there was still a certain gap between them and Huangju. However, their backgrounds were much greater than Huangju's. Therefore, Huangju came out of seclusion to greet them personally. In the great shrine, Huangju sat on the spacious and luxurious main seat. His hands and feet were placed neatly on either side of him. His gaze was solemn as he looked at the 3 luxurious seats on the right side of him that were also overflowing with light. At Huangju's side, Nina's hands were folded over her abdomen as she stood quietly to the side. At this moment, Nina's face was slightly pale and her curvy body was faintly trembling. She looked rather weak. And on those 3 seats sat 3 stalwart figures. They were none other than Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yin Chunzi, who had come uninvited. Huangju looked at Old Man Ming Deng and the other 2 sitting in front of him and felt a slight headache. The 3 of them had extremely strong backgrounds. Even he did not dare to offend them. Think Huangju couldn't help but laugh bitterly in his heart as he cursed Zhuowen in his heart. Ladies and gentlemen, you've already checked Nu's divine soul. I think we, the Nua clan, have shown enough sincerity. Is there anything else you're not satisfied with? Huangju discreetly glanced at the woman beside her. Seeing that the latter was so weak that she could barely stand, she sighed in her heart. Bai Yu Ming Deng and the others still didn't believe Nu's words. Therefore, after their visit, they suggested to Huangju that they should personally examine Nu's memories. Although Ju was furious, the forces behind the 3 of them were indeed much stronger than the Nua clan. Therefore, he could only inconvenience Nu again. After experiencing the pain of having her soul searched again, Nu's divine soul had suffered a certain amount of damage. If it weren't for her strong will, she would have fainted on the spot. Old Man Ming and the others frowned. They had all checked Nu's memories. Just as the middle-aged scholar had said, in Nu's memories, Zhuowen had indeed self-destructed in the end. Nu hadn't been able to get anything from Zhuowen. However, the 3 of them were still unwilling to give up. In their opinion, the map fragment was of great importance. The material used to make it must be extraordinary. Even if Zhuowen had self-destructed, it shouldn't have been able to turn the map fragment into dust. Unless, of course, Zhuowen had hidden the map fragment somewhere else. Only yes, Zhuowen had already self-destructed and died. Even if he had indeed hidden the map fragment somewhere else, it was as good as nothing to them. Who knew where Zhuowen had hidden the map fragment? Old Man Ming sighed softly. He took a deep look at Nu, then cupped his fists at Huangju and said, Clan leader Huangju, the 3 of us have been presumptuous this time. Old Man Ming apologizes to you. Clan leader Nu is indeed fine. The 3 of us have been overthinking. Huangju sighed in relief. He was really afraid that Old Man Ming and the others would not let go of Nu. If that was really the case, he might have to take the risk of offending the forces behind the 3 of them to protect Nu. Looks like it's all a misunderstanding. It's rare for the 3 of you to come to Nua City. Why don't you stay for a while and let the Nua clan take good care of the 3 of you? Huangju said in a relaxed tone. Old Man Ming, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chenzi were clearly a little ashamed. They all thanked Huangju politely and apologized to Nu. They had given Huangju and Nu enough face. Nu, whose expression was originally not very good, saw the 3 of them lower their heads and apologize, and her expression finally improved a little. Under Huangju's beckoning, Old Man Ming and the others were about to follow Huangju into the inner hall to attend the banquet. However, their communication jade talismans lit up at an inappropriate time. When they checked their communication jade talismans, their expressions changed greatly. They quickly confirmed it with their eyes and quietly nodded. What are the 3 of you still hesitating for? I've already ordered the servants to prepare the banquet. We're only waiting for the 3 of you. Huangju seemed to have sensed something and turned around. He found that Old Man Ming and the others had stopped and were communicating with their eyes. He couldn't help but ask in surprise. Clan leader Huangju, we're really sorry. We suddenly had something to take care of. I'm afraid we won't have time to attend the banquet. We'll bid our farewells here. We'll pay you a visit another day to apologize. Old Man Ming and the others graciously cupped his fists towards Huangju. Then, he hurriedly left Nua City with Blood Beauty and Yun Chenzi. Great clan master. They seem to be very anxious. Did something happen? Nu asked. Nu looked at the backs of Old Man Ming and the others as they left. Her heart relaxed a lot, and she finally opened her mouth to speak. I'm not sure either. Perhaps the power behind them has some urgent matter that requires them to be summoned. Huang Ju said. Ju's gaze was also rather puzzled. He didn't think too much about it. Instead, he looked at Nu and gently said, Nu, I've wronged you this time. Originally, you took back the Dark Chakra, and made a great contribution. However, I still made you suffer the pain of having your soul searched. Nu shook her head repeatedly and said, Clan leader, you're treating me like an outsider. This matter isn't your fault. You can only blame that Zhuowen. If not for him, I wouldn't have been suspected. I really didn't expect that after Zhuowen died, I would still be tricked by him. Zhu patted Nu's shoulder and said with a smile, You've already done very well. If not for you, we wouldn't have been able to take back the Dark Chakra. As for Zhuowen and Duan Jiping's deaths, they deserved more than death. After all, our Nuwa clan is sacred and inviolable. They offended us and had to bear the price of death. Chapter 43:13. After Old Man Ming Deng and the other two hurriedly left Nuwa City, they gathered in a mountain valley far away from Nuwa City. Ming Deng, do you think this information is reliable? Shuemei looked at the old man, holding the lamp. Her beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed as she asked uncertainly. This information was sent by Ling Long of the Xinyan realm. Ling Long and I have a bit of friendship. Since he dares to say that Zhuowen is not dead, I think it should be true. After all, if he gave false information, he would have offended the three of us. Old Man Ming Deng's analysis was clear and logical. This Zhuowen is really beyond my expectations. If it weren't for the fact that this kid has offended so many people, I would really like to take him as my disciple. Yin Shenzi rubbed his chin with his right hand and chuckled. Blood Shuemei glanced at Yin Shenzi and sneered. It would be a real tragedy if he became your disciple. I remember that none of your disciples had a good ending. All right, stop arguing. Let's believe Ling Long for now. According to him, Zhuowen should be near Mo Bay City at the northern border of Nuwa Realm. It just so happens that the three of us have the transmission mark given to us by Huang Ju. With this mark, we can freely teleport to any transmission array in Nuwa Realm. I remember that there's a transmission array at the northern border. It's not far from Mo Bay City. Let's try it now. As Old Man Ming Deng spoke, he activated the transmission mark in his hand. Suddenly, a blazing white light burst out from the back of his hand and enveloped his entire body. Blood Shuemei and Yun Shenzi also followed suit and activated the transmission marks on their hands. At Old Man Ming Deng and the other two hurriedly rushed towards Zhuowen's location. Zhuowen was still standing there. At this moment, his right hand was clutching Ziyu's neck. It was not until his divine sense could no longer detect the traces of Su Zhou and the other two that he loosened his grip slightly. Cough! Cough! Mystery coughed violently. He looked at Zhuowen with eyes full of fear and panic, like a small beast seeing its natural enemy. Zhuowen, I did as you said and got Marquis Ji to retreat 500 million kilometers away. You should be satisfied, right? Can you let me go now? Ziyu asked carefully. Zhuowen looked at Ziyu with a smile that was not a smile. He gently said, Ziyu, did I say that I would let you go if you did as I said? Ziyu was frightened. All the hairs on his body stood up. He stiffly looked at Zhuowen and stammered, You sent them away. Or you want to kill me? At this moment, Ziyu completely regretted it. Marquis Ji was sent away. No one could save him now. Don't worry. As long as you listen to me and do as I say, I won't kill you. It all depends on your performance. Zhuowen smiled warmly. Purple, however, Mystery did not feel any warmth from Zhuowen's smile. Instead, she felt a deep chill. Now, send a message to Marquis Ji. He must not report what happened today to the power behind you. If he does and I find out about it, then I'll kill you right away. Zhuowen spoke indifferently. Purple Mystery sighed in his heart. For the sake of his life, he could only do as Zhuowen said and send this message to Marquis Ji. I've sent it, Zhuowen. Do you need me to do anything else? Mystery put the communication jade talisman back at his waist and looked at Zhuowen in fear. He wanted to stay away from Zhuowen, but he did not dare to. I need you to sleep for a while. Zhuowen grinned. He stepped forward and punched Ziyu's head, knocking him unconscious. Zhuowen handed the unconscious Ziyu to Shan Lingyun and Zhu Yuan in the Great World to guard. He quickly rushed towards the northern border. Sui could no longer trust Zhou. If he wanted to find Moyan Wushang, he could only rely on himself to go to Shuyan Divine City. Female at the northern border of Hua Domain stood a tall divine pillar that reached into the clouds. In front of the divine pillar was a huge battlement. At the top of the battlements, there were troops of cultivators guarding the border. Only, however, the number of cultivator troops on the battlement was smaller than usual. There were some cultivator troops were attracted by the battle in Mabe City just now. Many cultivator troops were dispatched to Mabe City to investigate. The surface of the divine pillar in front of the battlement had all kinds of complicated patterns. An invisible energy ripple spread from the divine pillar, forming an invisible and powerful barrier at the northern border. At this moment, there were many cultivators lined up at the city gate, waiting for the gate guards to inspect them. They were all cultivators who were planning to leave the Nuar realm. Some of them were local cultivators who were traveling, doing business, migrating, or returning to their own realms from other realms. But generally speaking, most of these cultivators who left Nuar domain from the border belonged to the bottom level. They did not have much money to pay for long-distance teleportation arrays. Therefore, they could only choose to leave Nuar domain by drifting for a long time. Zhuowen, on the other hand, did not lack money. He had chosen to leave the Nuar realm in this way for his own safety. Xiao Zhuowen, who had disguised himself, quietly mixed into the group and silently waited for the group to advance and be inspected. After about a few hours, Zhuowen, who had mixed into the group, discovered the auras of Su Zhou, Jiho, and Elder Ling. He quietly glanced at the dark clouds in the distance. He knew that Su Zhou and the other two should be observing this place from the depths of the dark clouds. Zhuowen was not worried that the three would attack. After all, Ziyu's life was still in his hands. Jiho would definitely not dare to act rashly. In order to ensure Ziyu's safety, Jiho would not let Su Zhou and Elder Ling act rashly. At this rate, Su Zhou and the others could only watch as he left the Nuar realm. Very soon, it was Zhuowen's turn. There were two guards at the door. They stepped forward and used their consciousness to scan Zhuowen inside and out. They also searched his body. After asking about Zhuowen's identity and origin, they let Zhuowen leave. Go! After leaving Nuar domain's border, Zhuowen subconsciously glanced at the dark clouds in the distance that were constantly sinking. A mocking smile appeared on his lips. Su Zhou, so what if you've used all your tricks? You can't do anything to me. As the saying goes, it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Once my cultivation is strong enough, no one can save your life. However, what Zhuowen did not see was that Su Zhou, who was observing him from the depths of the dark clouds, had a smile on his face. Zhuowen, you're still too careless. Although I can't do anything in your scheme, sometimes there's no need for me to personally kill someone. Su Zhou whispered in his heart. He glanced at Elder Ling beside him. The latter understood and quietly took out a communication jade talisman. He sent a message to Old Man Ming Deng and the other two, informing them of Zhuowen's specific situation. Chapter 43:14. At this moment, Old Man Ming Deng and the other two were still hiding in the battlements at the border. They had been silently observing the cultivators passing by, but what troubled them was that they couldn't tell which one was Zhuowen. They had too little contact with Zhuowen and weren't familiar with him at all. In addition, Zhuowen was in disguise. It was basically impossible for Old Man Ming Deng to easily recognize Zhuowen. Just as they were vexed, they received another message from Elder Ling. This message was like a timely rain to the three of them, quenching their thirst. That's the real Zhuowen. Old Lamb shouted and leaped out of the darkness. He quickly rushed to a small hill outside the battlements and blocked the path of a figure. Old Lamp's eyes lit up. Old Lamp's eyes lit up. Blood Beauty and Yun Chinzi followed closely behind, surrounding him from both sides in a pincer formation. In the blink of an eye, the figure was surrounded by the three in a triangular formation. There was no way out. Bai Old Man Ming Deng and the other two didn't conceal their auras. Therefore, their actions naturally attracted the attention of the cultivators and guards entering and exiting the border. Why? When they felt the terrifying auras from Old Man Ming Deng and the other two, they all revealed looks of fear and trepidation. They hid far away and didn't dare to get too close. What's going on? Why are Old Man Ming Deng and the other two here? In the distance, within the endless dark clouds, Ji-ho, who had been silently watching, suddenly changed his expression. If in the past he would be happy to see Zhuowen suffer, but Ziyu's life was now in Zhuowen's hands. If something happened to Zhuowen, wouldn't Ziyu be finished too? Ji-ho originally wanted to intervene in this matter, but he was stopped by Elder Ling. Ji-ho, calm down. I know you're worried about Ziyu, but you have to think clearly. This is the only way you can save Ziyu, Suzhou said slowly. Ji-ho's pupil shrank. He looked at Suzhou and asked darkly, "Did you inform Old Man Ming Deng and the others?" Suzhou was non-committal as he smiled faintly. Marquis Ji, I'm trying my best to save Brother Ziyu. Think about it carefully. With Ziyu as a hostage, do you think you have a chance to save Ziyu? You will only be led by the nose by Zhuowen. As for me and Elder Ling, there's no need to talk about it. If we make a move, you will definitely be pressured into stopping us. Won't we end up in an endless loop? Won't we have to watch when take Brother Ziyu away and escape easily? Once he escapes, it will be very difficult for us to find his whereabouts. Ji-ho calmed down. What Suzhou said was reasonable and not unreasonable. He couldn't think of any reason to refute it. But if a third party intervenes, then it has nothing to do with us. As long as Old Man Ming Deng and the other two kill Zhuowen, won't Brother Ziyu be safe? Suzhou revealed a sinister smile. Ji-ho was silent for a moment before he retorted. This Zhuowen is full of cunning. When Old Man Ming Deng and the other two attacked him, he might have guessed that we were behind it. What if he kills young Master Ziyu in a fit of rage? Zhou laughed. He won't dare to kill him. Ziyu is mainly a bargaining chip in Zhuowen's hands to restrain you and Elder Ling. If he loses even this bargaining chip, he will have to face the crazy revenge of you and Elder Ling. Now, he is already facing the encirclement of 3 Pinnacle Dharma Plane cultivators. If he kills Ziyu, then he will have to face the encirclement of 5 Pinnacle Dharma Plane cultivators. As long as Zhuowen isn't crazy, he won't kill Ziyu. Ji-ho's eyes brightened as he looked at Suzhou with a trace of fear. Suzhou was indeed worthy of being called the most scheming genius on the Outer Realm Celestial Leaderboard. This trick was too ruthless. Zhuo, even if one knew that they were behind it, he wouldn't dare to kill Ziyu directly. He could only suffer in silence. Inside, while Suzhou and Ji-ho were silently observing from the depths of the dark clouds, Zhuowen's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He raised his head and looked around. He looked at Old Man Ming Deng and the other two who surrounded him. His mind was filled with thoughts. He quickly realized that all of this was Suzhou's doing. I miscalculated. I didn't think that Suzhou would leak the news to Old Man Ming Deng and the others in order to eliminate me. Zhuowen thought to himself. Zhuowen, I know it's you. Don't hide anymore. Show your true face. Old Man Ming Deng looked down at Zhuowen, who was wrapped in a black robe. His powerful aura completely locked onto Zhuowen. Zhuowen sighed and no longer pretended. He lifted his hood and revealed his true face. Why are the 3 of you looking for me? Zhuowen's eyes flashed as he asked. You already know the answer. Hand over the map fragments on you. We will consider leaving your corpse intact. Blood Beauty licked her scarlet lips and said coquettishly, The 3 of you, you are making things difficult for me. The map fragments are no longer with me. You may not know this, but the reason why I participated in the Great Hunt in the Golden Mountains was actually because Suzhou asked me to help him obtain a map fragment hidden in the Golden Mountains. After I obtained the map fragment, I needed to hand it over to Suzhou, and he would give me the corresponding reward. Just now, I gave the map fragment to Suzhou, and then I prepared to leave the Nuar realm. If you want a map fragment, you can go and find Suzhou. When shrugged and pushed all the blame to Suzhou. Ming Ding old man, Ming Ding, and the other two exchanged glances, then secretly glanced at the dark clouds in the distance. They were not ordinary people, and they had long noticed Suzhou and the other two hiding in the dark clouds. The three of you, I have indeed made an agreement with Zhuo, and he has indeed given me the map fragment he obtained from the Golden Crow Mountains. However, this child didn't only have one incomplete map on him. He also had another incomplete map, which he had obtained from a tomb in the past. I believe you all know my father, and that he has a bad temper. If you think that my map fragment is easy to take, feel free to attack me. However, you may have to face my father's crazy revenge after this. Suddenly, Suzhou's calm and sonorous voice rang out from the dark clouds. Ming. When old man Ming Deng and the other two heard Suzhou mention his father, their expressions changed drastically. They did not take Suzhou seriously, but Suzhou's father was a famous expert in the Void Yama realm. He was a terrifying existence that they could not afford to offend. With such an expert supporting them from behind, how could they dare to casually make a move against Suzhou? You must be joking, Sir Suzhou. Since this kid still has a map fragment on him, we naturally have to ask him for it. As for young master Suzhou's map fragment, it's yours. We don't dare to covet it. Yun Shenzi cupped his fists at Wu Yun in the distance and spoke in a polite manner. Zhuo frowned slightly. He looked coldly at the dark clouds in the distance and knew that something was wrong. He knew that whatever he said next would be useless. Look, he had to find a way to escape. Thought. Zhuowen's eyes flickered as he looked around, thinking of a way to escape. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 43:15. Zhuowen, there's no need for me to continue talking nonsense. Hand over the map fragment, and we'll leave you with an intact corpse. The old lamp elder began to become impatient. He spread his hands at Zhuowen and said rudely, Okay, I'll give it to you right away. One nodded seriously, and then pretended to take something out of the macro world. Ming, seeing that Zhuowen was so tactful, the old lamp elder and the other two secretly nodded, and their eyes revealed a look of contempt. Zhuowen gently pulled out his right hand, and a divine sword that shone with purple, gold, and black brilliance appeared in his palm. Draw the moment he pulled out the Taiyu sacred sword, Zhuowen summoned his own Qiankuan world. Sword shaking the 9 heavens. Hongming heaven and earth. Life in the morning, death in the evening. In an instant, Zhuowen displayed one divine ability after another. Terrifying sword light burst out like a storm, and with Zhuowen as the center, it quickly spread out in all directions. Whoosh! At the same time, the first 5 layers of Zhuowen's 9-layered Qiankuan world were opened. 5 kinds of terrifying tribulation energy surged out like a tide, completely drowning the old lamp elder, blood beauty, and Yun Shenzi. After doing this, Zhuowen used the Hongmeng body technique and shot out like a bolt of lightning, rushing in the direction of the extreme north. The old lamp elder and the other 2 obviously did not expect Zhuowen to suddenly attack, and for a moment they were caught off guard. Fortunately, the 3 of them were peak masters of the Dharma phase of the universe, and their reactions were very fast. After Zhuowen displayed his divine ability, they quickly retreated, and after putting some distance between them, they summoned their respective Dharma phases of the universe to resist Zhuowen's divine ability and tribulation energy. When they had completely dealt with Zhuowen's offensive, Zhuowen had turned into an illusory Xiao Hei dot in the distance. Chase! This time, we won't let him escape. Ming the old lamp elder, blood beauty, and Yun Qinzi simultaneously turned into 3 long rainbows and chased into the distance. Let's go take a look too. In the depths of the dark clouds, Suzhou, Jiho, and Elderling followed closely behind. They didn't follow very closely, but rather trailed far behind with no intention of approaching. Zhuo pushed his movement technique to the extreme. His speed was comparable to most cosmic Dharma adepts. However, what made Zhuo's heart sink slightly was that the bright lamp old man and the other two were even faster. Taiyunxinzi's speed was the fastest among the three. Beneath his feet, an incomparably gigantic cloud dragon appeared. This is the cloud dragon shuttled about recklessly as if it had entered a no man's land, rapidly approaching Zhuo. Seeing how fast the cloud dragon was, Old Man Ming Deng and Blood Beauty leaped onto its back after getting Yunxinzi's permission. Their powerful auras completely locked onto Zhuo. Seeing that the distance between Zhuo and the cloud dragon was getting closer and closer, Zhuo also felt that it was troublesome. He knew that if this continued, they would definitely catch up. When they passed by a huge river, Zhuo suddenly plunged into the river. Then he used his secret technique, invisible water escape. He turned into invisible water and merged into the river, following the surging river to the east. Whoosh! Pang! The big cloud dragon followed closely behind and also plunged into the water, wantonly surging in the depths of the river. On the cloud dragon's back, the bright lamp old man and the other two were not affected by the river's current at all. As long as the water was within a few meters of them, it would automatically separate them. That Zhuo's aura has disappeared? The old lamp man was left bewildered. His profound divine will unfurled like a spiderweb, covering an area of hundreds of millions of miles around Jianghe. He scouted everything clearly, but could not sense Zhuo's aura at all. Blood Beauty and Yunxinzi were also shocked. Their divine senses also couldn't detect any aura of Zhuo in the river. Imitation, the moment Zhuo jumped into the river, Zhuo suddenly disappeared from the face of the earth, his aura completely gone. The three of you, this kid has mastered a strange secret technique. He can turn himself into a pool of invisible water without any aura. Even you can't detect it. He should have used that secret technique to merge himself into the river, following the river's flow to the east. While the bright lamp old man and the other two were vexed, Suzhou's voice came from the water. The bright lamp old man and the other two urged the cloud dragon to jump out of the water without hesitation. They saw Suzhou, Jiho, and Elderling floating on the water not far away. Since you know about this, why didn't you say it earlier? The bright lamp old man said rather unhappily. Suzhou, the corners of Suzhou's mouth curled up slightly as he said with a faint smile, "The three of you. It's not that we don't want to say it, but this kind of important information isn't free. Moreover, I have a way to track Zhuo's whereabouts. But what kind of price can you pay?" The bright lamp old man and the other two narrowed their eyes. They were a little surprised. They didn't expect Suzhou to raise conditions with them at this time. They had to admit that this kid was really bold. Sure, as long as you are sure that you have a way to track Zhuo, you can raise a condition that is within the scope of what we can afford. The bright lamp old man discussed with the Blood Beauty and Yunxinzi before nodding lightly. Actually, my condition isn't too excessive. I just want to exchange treasured lands with the families behind you. Both sides can reach an agreement so that the juniors of both sides can enter each other's treasured lands and promote each other, Suzhou said with a smile. The bright lamp old man, the Blood Beauty, and Yunxinzi looked at each other. The families behind them were all extraordinary. They each controlled a treasured land in their respective realms. While these treasured lands were the foundation of their families, the foundation of their future prosperity. If Suzhou and the others were really sincere, exchanging treasured lands was actually a win-win situation. We can't decide on this matter, but we can report it to the higher-ups. If the higher-ups don't agree, your request may be invalid. The bright lamp old man said indifferently, "It's fine. This is just one of my small requests. Actually, I have another request," Suzhou said with a smile. The bright lamp old man frowned slightly. This Suzhou's request was a bit too much. Did he really think they were doing charity? After you obtain the map fragment, you need to give a fifth of the quota to Ziyu and Jiho. Whether we could track down Zhuo or not depends on their cooperation. Suzhou looked at Ji-ho beside him and said with a smile. The bright lamp old man and the other two discussed and nodded in agreement to this request. There were a lot of spots for each map fragment, so it wasn't too difficult for them to take out 1/5 of the spots. Ji-ho, I fought for what should be fought for you. It's your turn now. I know that you and Z, you should have a way to track each other. Whether we can catch up to Zhuan and save Z now depends on whether you're willing to help us or not. Suzhou looked at Ji-ho and said seriously. Ji-ho sighed lightly, and then he glanced deeply at Suzhou and said, Suzhou, your wisdom really terrifies me sometimes. I've been persuaded by you. I'll help you track down Zhuan. As long as young Master Zio is still in Zhuan's hands, then I'll know their exact location. Chapter 43:16. The surging waves of the Yangtze River were like the arms of a ferocious beast, fiercely hitting the bluestones on both sides of the river. He also did not notice that when the waves hit the bluestones on the shore, a pool of invisible water silently adhered to the bluestones. Then, this inconspicuous pool of water slowly seeped into the ground, slowly moving towards the south of the shore. It was a vast and boundless wilderness. Patches of green grass spread out from far to near. In further away was a dense forest with towering ancient trees. In the depths of the forest, wisps of smoke rose in spirals. It was a serene and peaceful scene. And on a small, inconspicuous hill in the wilderness, puddles of water spread out from the ground and then began to condense into a human figure. The figure condensed and merged at a speed visible to the naked eye, finally forming a tall and straight young man. After drifting in the river for 49 days, I've come to the source of the river. I think I've already escaped far enough. Old man Ming Deng and the others should not be able to catch up. It was Zhuan. He stood on the hill, looking at the lush forest in the distance and the rising smoke in the depths of the forest. There was a trace of peace in his heart. Only yes, the peace in his heart was quickly replaced by a dull heartbeat. No didn't know why, but his heart was beating extremely fast. It was as if there was some kind of huge drum that was constantly beating, rumbling loudly. An ominous premonition washed over him like a tidal wave. Rumble. Suddenly, the hill under Zhuan's feet collapsed. Then, 3 incomparably huge Dharma idol arms stretched out and fiercely slapped at Zhuan. Zhuan instantly brought out the 9 layers of the universal world. The first 5 layers were opened, and 5 kinds of terrifying calamity energy surged out. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 huge Dharma idol arms, as if they were unstoppable, completely shattered the 5 kinds of calamity energy and then heavily smashed into the 9 layers of the universal world in the void behind Zhuan. The Dharma idol arms and the universal world collided, and a huge explosion resounded. It was as if stars were constantly colliding. It was extremely terrifying and shook the world. Pucci. Zhuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was abnormally pale as he was sent flying by a tremendous force. His figure was in an extremely miserable state. While the 9th level of the universe world had become much dimmer, the various calamities within the universe world seemed to have suffered a heavy blow as they flew about wantonly like rivers and seas. Dang after Zhuan was pushed back by the attack, the small hill was completely shattered, and a huge crater appeared in its place. While in the deep pit, the true faces of 3 solemn Dharma idols appeared. This is the 3 Dharma Laksana remained silent. Together, they once again launched a strong attack on Zhuan. They did not intend to give Zhuan any chance to breathe. Zhuan's eyes narrowed when he saw their true appearances. He recognized them with a single glance. They were Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yin Chenzi. From the angle of their attacks, it could be seen that the 3 of them had been lying in ambush here. Only that's right. How did they know of his whereabouts and set up an ambush in advance? Although Owen's heart was full of doubts, but he also knew that now was not the time to be puzzled. With his current strength, it was still too difficult for him to fight against three pinnacle Dharma Laksana powerhouses. Once again, he used the secret technique, formless water escape. He blended into the depths of the earth and quietly left this place. Damn it, this kid's secret technique is too strange. Once he turns into a puddle of formless water, it's as if he has really disappeared. There's no aura at all. Old man Ming Deng frowned and said with some distress, "That's right. Once he uses his secret technique, we can't do anything to him at all. If it wasn't for Su Zhou being able to locate his whereabouts, we would have lost him long ago." Yin Shenzi sighed softly. "Right now, we don't have any better ideas. We can only continue to chase. This kid is already injured. I don't believe that he can use that kind of secret technique without any restrictions. This kind of secret technique must have all kinds of restrictions." Blood Beauty's beautiful eyes were gloomy as she said, "Blood Beauty is right. Let's continue to chase. We'll waste time with this kid until he dies of exhaustion." Old man Ming Deng snorted coldly and rushed out again. After that, Old man Ming Deng and the other two communicated with Su Zhou while tracking Zhuan's location. Every time Zhuan appeared from the formless water escape, the three of them would appear before Zhuan and join forces to ruthlessly attack Zhuan. After a while, after being ambushed again and again, the injuries on Zhuan's body became more and more serious. Although he had thought of using the Grand Sovereign Seal, but it consumed too much energy. Once he used the Grand Sovereign Seal, he was confident that he could injure one of them, but he would also be exhausted. He wouldn't even be able to use formless water escape. But at that time, he would be dead without a doubt. Therefore, he could only passively run for his life. Time and time again, he was tracked by Old Man Ming Deng and the other two. Then, the four of them would erupt into a great battle, and Zhuan would run again. Just like that, he entered an endless cycle. What's going on? How can Old Man Ming Deng and the other two be able to track my exact location so accurately? The water of form was hidden in a calm lake. Zhuan moved slowly while anxiously thinking. This was already the 10th time he had been ambushed. His injuries were extremely serious, and even his consciousness was a bit blurry. However, he still couldn't shake off Old Man Ming Deng and the other two. So he stabilized his mind and began to think. He didn't think that someone had used any tracking method on him. After all, his divine sense was extremely sensitive. If someone had used a tracking method on him, it was impossible for him not to know it all. Also, in other words, the problem didn't lie with him. Then where did it lie? Ziyu is awake. He's been shouting and screaming. I want to knock him out again. While Zhuan was thinking, Xiao Hei's voice sounded in his mind. That's right, the problem must lie with Ziyu. Zhuan was suddenly enlightened. Since there was no problem with him, then it could only lie with Ziyu. The only foreign object on him was actually Ziyu, and Ziyu was Marquis Ji's master. Perhaps Ziyu and Marquis Ji had some means of communication that he didn't know about. Think. Zhuan's eyes had a trace of hostility. Part of his soul entered the great world. He saw Ziyu tied to a tree stump on the island in the middle of the lake. She was constantly shouting and screaming. Sherpa Tian was guarding beside the tree stump with a leather whip in his hand. He was gloating as he watched Ziyu howl. Master! Sherpa Tian saw Zhuan come over and quickly stood up. He looked a bit guilty. Zhuan, where's this place? You should let me go. After all, you're safe now. Let me go. Ziyu saw Zhuan come over and her eyes lit up. She hurriedly shouted for help at Zhuan. Zhuan looked at Ziyu and asked, Safe? Do you really think I'm safe? Ziyu was startled and said in surprise, Isn't it? Yes, your mother. Sherpa Tian, whip him. I didn't say stop. Keep whipping. Zhuan was suppressing a fire in his stomach as he ordered Sherpa Tian. Sherpa Tian shouted. Sherpa Tian was very excited. He waved the whip in his hand and unceremoniously whipped Ziyu. Ziyu was dumbfounded. She didn't know what was wrong with Zhuan. Wasn't it too much to want to whip him? But immediately after, the violent whipping and the terrifying pain caused him to only care about screaming miserably. How could he think of anything else? Ah, 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 ah. Chapter 43:17. Pa, 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 pa. The sound of the whip lashing continuously echoed in the air, accompanied by the screams of pigs being slaughtered. The sounds intertwined endlessly in the big world. Master, my hand is sore. Sure, Patian said. Patian held the whip in his small hand and fiercely swung it. Then he turned to look at Zhuowen with a bitter face. Under Zhuowen's command, Sure Patian had been lashing the whip for several hours. His arm was stiff and sore as if petrified. Zhuowen was expressionless. He raised his right hand and motioned for Sure Patian to stop. His indifferent gaze fell on Ziyu. Here Ziyu's face was already bruised and swollen. She was now lying on the ground, moaning in pain. Zhuowen, why did you hit me? I've been well behaved during this time. I didn't provoke you. Ziyu trembled. She looked at Zhuowen in horror. Her voice trembled and her heart was full of confusion. She didn't seem to have done anything. Why was she so unlucky to be hung up and beaten by Zhuowen like this? Why? Zhuowen didn't speak. He only stared coldly at Ziyu. The latter's scalp was numb and her tone was much weaker. If you have something to say, then say it. I will definitely cooperate with you. Ziyu smiled rather fawningly. Do you have a special way of contacting Marquis G? I found that no matter where I go, Marquis G can find me. Zhuowen pretended to ask deeply. He knew that if he asked Ziyu directly, she might not tell the truth. So he planned to use this method to ask Ziyu. You? Ziyu was shocked. You was shocked. She cursed Marquis G 100 times in her heart. He did have a more hidden connection with Marquis G. This was so that if Ziyu was separated from Marquis G in a dangerous situation, Marquis G could locate his position in the shortest time and come to rescue him. Originally, he was still looking forward to Marquis G secretly tracking his position. As long as he didn't give himself away, then there would be a chance to save him. But he didn't expect Marquis G to be exposed so quickly and cause him to suffer an unexpected calamity. Speak, Wen shouted coldly. His eyes were ferocious as a terrifying, murderous intent burst out from his eyes. Purple Mystery's body trembled. He knew that if he didn't tell the truth, Zhuowen would probably execute him on the spot. There is indeed a special method of communication between Ji Ho and me. Zhuowen, I really didn't want to hide this from you, but I didn't think that Marquis Ji would dare to track you. This has nothing to do with me. Ziyu readily admitted it. She was afraid of being suspected by Zhuowen, so she tried her best to clarify her relationship with Marquis Ji. Take it out. Wen was expressionless. He spread his hands at Ziyu and said coldly. Purple Yu trembled and barely managed to sit up. Then, she formed a complicated seal with her right hand and pointed at her glabella. Only a purple lotus mark appeared between Ziyu's eyebrows. This mark was vivid and lifelike, as if a real lotus had bloomed on Ziyu's forehead. Rin the flower imprint slowly separated from Ziyu's eyebrows and floated above Ziyu's palm. This is the medium for me to contact Marquis G. This imprint can't directly contact Marquis G, but through this imprint, both of us can track each other's location. Ziyu sighed softly. Zhuowen waved his right hand, and the lotus mark on Ziyu's palm automatically appeared in his hand. I hope you're telling the truth. If you're lying, I'll let you die a horrible death. Zhuowen looked coldly at Ziyu. Then, he motioned for Sure Patian to take good care of Ziyu and left the great world. How in a vast and deep lake, a stream of invisible water quietly dived into the deepest part of the lake. At the bottom of the lake, there were huge, irregular rocks and many dilapidated ancient buildings. Coral reefs as big as hills could be seen everywhere. Wu the water of form leisurely entered a huge coral reef. Numerous strange fishes were swimming back and forth in this coral reef. Suddenly, an extremely active school of strange fish swam back and forth in the coral group as if they were threatened. They all drilled into the depths of the coral group and hid, not daring to come out. Zhengxing, while Zhuowen was feeling puzzled, a massive shadow slowly moved over. Soon, it enveloped the entire coral cluster. Zhuowen, who was in the invisible water, could not help but look up. He found that above the corals, there was a huge monster that looked like a spearfish. It was swimming towards them with great agility. Three-spear divine fish. Zhuan's eyes lit up. Three-spear divine fish was a kind of giant beast that specialized in speed. Although its strength was average, its speed in the water was unparalleled. It was said that its speed was comparable to that of most cosmic Dharma plane experts. Zhuan controlled the invisible water and quietly approached the three-spear divine fish that was still looking for prey above the coral group. When the invisible water streaked across the three-spear divine fish's forehead, a purple lotus mark fell and imprinted itself between the three-spear divine fish's eyebrows. Roar! The three-spear divine fish seemed to be surprised. It roared and quickly rushed into the distance. Its speed was so fast that it disappeared in the blink of an eye. The surrounding water surged, forming a terrifying waterspout. Under the force of the waterspout, the invisible water quickly moved in the opposite direction of the three-spear divine fish. On the surface of the huge lake, three figures quietly arrived. They were the old lamp elder, Blood Beauty, and Yun Shinzi. According to the news from Jiho, this kid escaped to this lake. He is now 3,000 feet below the surface of the lake, quickly moving towards the northwest. There's no time to lose. Let's chase. The old lamp elder put away the communication jade talisman, glanced at Blood Beauty and Yun Shinzi, and quickly dived into the lake. After diving to a depth of 3,000 feet, he quickly chased in the northwest direction. He could get in touch with Jiho at any time, so he could easily locate Zhuan's position. However, what surprised the three of them was that Zhuan's speed this time was shockingly fast. After these days of tracking, they also understood that when Zhuan used the invisible water escape technique, his speed was not fast. He was much slower than the three of them. This was also the main reason why the three of them predicted Zhuan's destination in advance and ambushed him in advance. However, this time, Zhuan's speed surprised them. His speed was only a little slower than theirs. The three of them were puzzled, but they did not think too much about it. Instead, they increased their speed, hoping to catch up with Zhuan as soon as possible. They could feel that Zhuan was about to reach his limit. This time, if they attacked him again, this kid would not have any extra strength to use the invisible water escape technique. At that time, this kid would become a fish on their chopping board, unable to resist at all. Chapter 43:18. We're about to get close to that Zhuan. I didn't expect that he would dare to enter the deepest part of the lake. I don't know what he's up to. Old man Ming Deng frowned as he muttered to himself. Be careful. This place isn't simple. I can sense extremely powerful auras lurking in the depths of the darkness. Blood Beauty frowned slightly. Her beautiful eyes vigilantly scanned the surroundings as she reminded him in a soft voice. There are many powerful giant beasts hidden in the depths of the lake. Did Zhuan deliberately lead us here? Or has he already given up on resisting? Yin Shinzi asked with a solemn expression. Be careful. Don't alert the enemy. We'll mind our own business with these giant beasts. As long as we don't provoke them, I don't think they'll attack us. Old man Ming Deng reminded as he looked at the giant figures passing by in the darkness. His expression was quite ugly. They quietly approached the depths of the darkness. In the darkness around the three of them, huge black shadows stirred the water and circled around them, like a group of demons dancing in the night. 2 pairs of scarlet eyes slowly opened. Gazes filled with malice landed on the bodies of the bright lamp old man and the other 2, causing the 3 of them to feel uncomfortable all over. If the bright lamp old man and the other 2 had not concealed their peak Dharma powers, perhaps the owners of these malicious gazes would have already swarmed over and devoured the bright lamp old man and the other 2. That Zhuan has stopped. He's just 100 meters ahead. Old man Ming Deng seemed to have sensed something. He quickly sped up and arrived 100 meters away. Soon, a huge underwater mountain appeared in front of the 3 of them. On the mountain side of the mountain, there were numerous caves. They occupied almost 1/3 of the entire mountain. These These caves were very large, and each cave entrance was dozens of feet wide. From afar, they looked like the giant maw of a taotai that wanted to devour everything. It gave people a sense of unease. Zhuan's position is in the 30th cave on the left. Let's go in and capture him. Old Man Ming Ding breathed a sigh of relief after confirming Zhuan's position. He didn't think too much about why Zhuan had entered this place. Instead, he rushed into the cave like lightning. He felt that this place gave him an uncomfortable feeling. He just wanted to find Zhuan as soon as possible and leave this place. Cave. Inside the cave was a deep passage. In this dark and seemingly endless tunnel, the water that flowed through the tunnel was as viscous as blood, giving the three of them the feeling that they were in blood. Roar. Not long after the three of them entered, a roar came from the depths of the cave. Then, a huge black shadow rushed out at an extremely fast speed. Old Man Ming Ding and the others finally saw clearly that this black shadow was actually a three-spear divine fish. Whoosh! The spear divine fish was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it brushed past Old Man Ming Ding and the other two and headed out of the cave. Zhuan's position is on these three divine fish. This, Old Man Ming Ding confirmed with Jiho again and was stunned when he found that Jiho's position was on these three divine fish. It's very likely that he's attached himself to the three divine fish spears. After all, the formless water formed by his secret technique is seamless. After entering the bodies of the three divine fish spears, he's borrowing the speed of the three divine fish spears to flee. Shuimei said. Yun Chenzi nodded in agreement and said, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's catch up and kill these three divine fish. Blast them to smithereens. I don't believe that Zhuan won't show himself." After the three of them reached an agreement, terrifying killing intent burst out from their eyes. In the next moment, the three of them no longer concealed their auras. Instead, they summoned their cosmic manifestations and rushed out of the cave to catch up to the three divine fish. The three divine fish, who had been leisurely swimming, didn't even have time to react before they were surrounded by the three cosmic manifestations. Then, under the puzzled gazes of the three cosmic manifestations, the three cosmic manifestations unleashed terrifying attacks. Countless streams of light flashed in the dark lake. Boom, boom, boom. In the dazzling light, the pitiful three divine fish was blasted to smithereens. Before they died, they could only let out a mournful cry. The momentum of the three's attacks was extremely great. Almost the entire lake was affected. Countless water tornadoes surged up from the water surface and into the clouds. Why hasn't this kid shown himself yet? If he was really hiding inside the three-spear divine fish, he should have shown himself and fled after seeing us chase after him. The old man looked at the remains of the three-spear divine fish in surprise and said with some confusion. Blood Shuimei and Yun Chenzi were also dumbfounded. It seemed that reality was a bit different from what they had expected. Ji Ho sent another message. What? Ziyu's imprint disappeared. She's dead? Old Man Ming Ding was dumbstruck after seeing Ji Ho's message. What? Ziyu's imprint disappeared. That means that Ziyu is dead. Then Zhuan is also dead? We accidentally killed them, just now. Shuimei and Yun Chenzi were also dumbfounded. Roar! Roar! While the three of them were still in a daze, pairs of scarlet eyes lit up in the caves of the enormous mountain behind them. Terrifying roars rose and fell one after another. Whoosh! 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 Then, one after another, huge black shadows rushed out from the densely packed caves, crazily charging towards the three old men. It's a school of three divine fish. Damn it, I forgot that the three divine fish are huge beasts that live in groups. They are also very united. As long as one of them is killed, the other three divine fish will crazily avenge their companion. Old Man Ming Ding slapped his forehead and cursed with a slightly pale face. Run! Yun Chenzi and Shui didn't even think about it and fled towards the back. However, Just as they turned around, they immediately discovered that the other huge beasts hidden in the darkness had gathered together and blocked their escape route. Pairs of scarlet eyes stared at them and made their hair stand on end. There were pursuers and ambushes. They had nowhere to go. Damn it, what bad luck. I thought I could catch Zhuowen and make a great contribution, but I didn't expect to get into trouble instead. The two of you, follow me and carve out a bloody path. Ming shouted. Old man Ming Dang's eyes were filled with hostility. He had a belly full of anger due to his failure to catch Zhuowen. He urgently needed to vent it now, and these uninvited exotic beasts were perfect for him to vent his frustrations. Shui and Yunshenzi were helpless. They knew that they had to fight and gave up on the idea of running away. Kill! With a roar, countless huge beasts and the three Dharma manifestations finally collided, erupting into an earth-shattering underwater battle. Lake on a mountain not far away. Marquis G's face was pale. He gripped the Jade Communication Talisman in his hand and gritted his teeth. Young Master Zio's imprint has disappeared. That Zhuowen has killed young Master Zio. Bastard, I must kill him. Suzhou stood not far away from Marquis G, followed by Elderling. Deep in thought, he muttered, Marquis G, Brother Zio might not really be dead. That Zhuowen is not a stupid person. Zio should be of great use to him. He won't kill him so easily. The disappearance of the imprint could also be that Brother Zio handed it over himself and gave it to Zhuowen to erase. Marquis G, who had fallen into despair, seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. He turned to stare at Suzhou and asked, Really? The possibility is very high. Of course, to prove whether Brother Zio is still alive, we still need to prove it to Zhuowen. Suzhou's lips curled as he took out the Jade Communication Talisman at his waist. Chapter 43:19. You're sending a message to Zhuowen? He asked. Ho saw Suzhou slowly put away the Jade Talisman after sending the message. His pupils shrank as he asked in a low voice. Yes. Suzhou smiled faintly. Ho's expression was strange. Suzhou, Zhuowen has been treated like this by us. Even if Zhuowen is really alive, do you think he will reply to your message? Suzhou confidently said, He will, because my message to him is very simple. I just want to know if Ziyu is alive or dead. If he doesn't reply, then I will beat him at his own game and send the news of Ziyu's death back to his family. Once the news of Ziyu's death spreads, with the power of her family, do you think they will let it go and not arrest Zhuowen? As long as he replies, then I won't spread the news. This is not a loss for Zhuowen. After all, he took out the tracking mark on Ziyu. With his ability, it will be very difficult for us to find him now. Using accurate news to shut me up is obviously not a losing deal. Zhuowen is a smart person. Jiho repeatedly nodded his head when he heard that. His gaze when looking at Suzhou instead became reverent. Suzhou had just finished speaking when the jade talisman in his right palm lit up. He opened it and saw that Zhuowen had replied, She's not dead, but you're dead for sure. Suzhou slowly put away the jade talisman and shook his head. Zhuowen replied to me, Ziyu is indeed not dead. All right, I've completed the purpose of this trip. Jiho, let's bid farewell here. Suzhou didn't wait for Jiho's reply. He took out a divine ship and jumped onto the deck with Elderling. Then he turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Jiho looked at the huge lake in the distance and sent a lot of messages to Ziyu. When he didn't get a specific reply, he could only leave. Gongzi, why are you in such a hurry to leave? That Zhuowen is a huge trouble. We should continue to track that Zhuowen to prevent future troubles. Elderling followed behind Suzhou on the divine ship's deck and asked in confusion. Suzhou placed his hands behind his back and sighed lightly. Staying here will only be a waste of effort. I made a mistake this time. I underestimated Zhuowen's strength. Not only did I fail to obtain the other map fragment from Zhuowen, but I also offended Zhuowen, a genius with limitless potential. Elderling said disapprovingly, Young master, this Zhuowen's talent is indeed peerless. He far surpasses all the geniuses on the outer realm's celestial ranking and is close to those geniuses who truly stand at the peak of the invincible realm and the ancient heavenly Tao Academy. But in the end, he was only a loose cultivator. Moreover, he was so arrogant that he refused Lord Lien Rong's invitation. Such a self-righteous fellow. So what if his talent was strong? It was most likely to die prematurely. A dead genius is no threat at all. Suzhou didn't say anything. Instead, he silently looked at the clouds that constantly drifted by. Although, however, reason told him that Zhuan was just one person after all. He couldn't cause too much trouble, but there was always an uncontrollable fear in the depths of his heart. Then, this fear made him rather irritated. He kept thinking of Zhuan's cold and emotionless face. Could it be that I really made the wrong choice? No, I didn't do anything wrong. Suzhou's eyes became unprecedentedly sharp. He slowly said, Elderling, after returning, I plan to enter the secret realm to train. If I don't break through to the peak of the universe tribulation, I won't come out of seclusion. Secret realm? Young master, are you serious? Secret realms are extremely dangerous. If you're not careful, it's very easy to die inside. You can't be impulsive. Elderling's pupils constricted as he hurriedly dissuaded him. Suzhou calmly said, I made up my mind. After I come out of seclusion, I'll meet the conditions that Lord Lianrong mentioned. At that time, I'll have the qualifications to enter the ancient Heavenly Tao Academy. This is the reward that Lord Lianrong gave me. I don't want to waste this reward. Elderling looked at the serious Suzhou. He knew that Suzhou had truly made up his mind. Sigh, I still have to return and report this to Lord. As long as Lord agrees, you can enter the secret realm. Elderling sighed. He will agree. Suzhou took a deep breath and turned his head to look deeply at the back of the divine ship. Zhuan, I won't lose to you. Whether it's strategy or strength, I will win. Boom, boom, wide. Above the vast and seemingly endless lake, a series of extremely terrifying explosive sounds resounded. Boom! After the explosions, tens of thousands of terrifying water pillars rose from the calm surface of the lake. These water pillars were scarlet red, as if they were dyed red by endless blood. If one looked carefully, they would see that the water pillars were mixed with the remains of many corpses. Water. The pillars shot into the sky and then quickly fell down, landing heavily in the lake. Only the originally clear blue lake had turned into a lake of blood. It was as if the entire lake had been heavily damaged and was constantly flowing with mournful blood. 3 disheveled figures slowly emerged from the depths of the blood-colored lake. They were Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yin Chenzi. The 3 of them had drooping heads, their bodies were tattered, and their auras were extremely weak, while their cosmic forms were dim and lifeless, looking rather illusory and unreal. The 3 of them had experienced a difficult battle at the bottom of the lake. The aftermath of the battle had set off waves at the bottom of the lake and attracted most of the giant beasts to besiege them. Tens of thousands of giant beasts crazily attacked the 3 of them. That spectacular scene was still unforgettable to them, and they still had lingering fears. There are so many powerful giant beasts hidden in this lake. If the 3 of us hadn't worked together, any one of us would have died here. Yin Chenzi looked at the lake of blood beneath his feet. His limbs trembled uncontrollably when he thought of the fierce battle just now. He had almost died here. Damn it. We don't know where that Zhuan is, and we've lost all clues to Ziyu. We've really suffered a double loss this time. Old Man Ming Deng's face was gloomy. His fists were tightly clenched, and the veins on his forehead were bulging. Blood Beauty was rather helpless. She looked at Old Man Ming Deng and said, Ming Deng, ask Marquis Ji again. See if he has any other tracking methods. I suspect that Zhuan isn't dead. He's been misleading us all this time. Old Man Ming Deng sighed. How could I not have thought of this? I've already asked Marquis Ji, but he hasn't replied. He probably doesn't have any other methods. Blood Beauty and Yin Chenzi fell into silence. When followed the flow of the water, and came to the shore of the lake. He attached himself to a giant beast and used his spirit to influence the giant beast to quickly rush in the direction of the Nuar realm. This was still the border between the Nuar realm and the other realms. His injuries were extremely serious. If he hid in a nearby realm, he would easily run into Old Man Ming Deng and the others again. The so-called most dangerous place was actually the safest place. As long as Zhuowen hid in the Nuar realm again, he believed that Old Man Ming Deng and the others wouldn't think that Zhuowen had the guts to return to the Nuar realm. After all, he was the target of public criticism in the Nuar realm. He had offended most of the factions. Once he was recognized, he would be hunted down and killed. Chapter 43:20. The giant beast stopped on the ice plains thousands of miles away from the northern border of the Nuwa domain. No matter how Zhuowen stimulated the giant beast with his divine soul, the latter did not dare to approach. He knew that if he went any further, he would be in the territory of cultivators. If the giant beast got too close, it would be easily attacked by the cultivators. Zhuowen left the giant beast. He rushed towards the city at the northern border. When he approached the city, he turned into invisible water again and easily blended into the Nuwa domain. Next, he began to move around and attach himself to all kinds of cultivators, strange beasts, divine ships, and other things. He kept getting closer to the center of the Nuwa domain. Finally, after Zhuowen found a remote village that was hidden enough, the invisible water descended into the well of the village. When the night was dark, he came out of the well and found a cave near the village as his place of seclusion. After setting up a few restrictions in the cave, he summoned Shan Lingyun, Jiu Yuan, Shi Patian, and Xiao He. After telling them some things, he completely fainted. During this period of time, he'd been fighting and fleeing almost continuously and had exhausted his mind and energy a long time ago. Now that he was in a safe place, a strong sense of exhaustion swept over him, causing Zhuowen to fall into a deep sleep. After a long time, Zhuowen slowly woke up and saw Shan Lingyun, Shi Patian, Jiu Yuan, and Xiao He looking straight at him. "How long have I slept?" Zhuowen patted his head and asked weakly. 3 days and 3 nights. "My disciple, your injuries are still very serious. Don't move around." Shan Lingyun quickly held down Zhuowen, who was trying to get up, and said. Zhuowen realized that his whole body was in unbearable pain. It was as if his whole body would fall apart if he moved. His divine soul, was even more seriously injured. Now he had a splitting headache. Even thinking felt like a luxury. Fortunately, you summoned us before you fainted. Otherwise, if no one helped to treat your injuries, you might not have been able to wake up so quickly, Shan Lingyun said. As she spoke, she took out a bottle of medicinal paste and carefully applied it on Zhuowen's wounds. A trace of coolness flowed from his wounds to his limbs and bones. "Master, it's time to take the medicine. Open your mouth." Shi Patian scurried over with a 7-colored pill in his hand and fed it to Zhuowen. The principle was to set up a healing array at the side and maintain the operation of the array to speed up Zhuowen's recovery. Xiao He was patrolling around the area, guarding against possible dangers. "Zhuowen, what are you saying?" Shan Lingyun rolled her eyes at Zhuowen. "Take after a period of time, of course of the Nuwa domain of the Nuwa domain. Bye. Of the Nuwa of the world of the world of the world of the world." In half a month's time, his external injuries were basically healed. Part of his internal injuries were also healed. The most troublesome part was his divine soul. Good. In the starlight world of the Saint Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, he had obtained many divine soul medicines. With the help of these divine soul medicines, the injuries on his divine soul were slowly recovering. Zhuowen also discovered that his injured divine soul had become more tenacious and powerful after being tempered by the primordial technique. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Zhuowen's injuries were mostly healed. He also found out that the area he was in was under the jurisdiction of the Limitless Demon Sect. Moreover, it was not far from the limitless demon sect. The limitless demon sect. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He recalled the condition that Black Lotus had promised him. It was said that the limitless demon sect had an incomplete demon book. This demon book had allowed the limitless demon sect to dominate several realms. Back then, they were much stronger than the New realm. They were close to the supreme realms. This showed how extraordinary this demon book was. When Zhuowen was escaping, he had forgotten about this condition that Black Lotus had promised him. Now that he had returned to the New realm by accident and was near the limitless demon sect, it showed that he had some fate with this demon book. Disciple, you want to go to the limitless demon sect? I'm afraid that's not possible. Everyone in the New realm knows that you're dead. If you suddenly show up in the limitless demon sect, all the powerful beings in the New realm will come after you. Moreover, the 3 clan masters of the New clan will spread the news. At that time, you will not only be facing the forces of the New realm, but also the experts from the supreme realms who once besieged you. In the cave, Shan Lingyun stared at Zhuowen with her eyes wide open. She could not believe that Zhuowen wanted to go to the limitless demon sect. Wasn't this exposing himself? Which Black Lotus of the limitless demon sect is my loyal servant? Her spirit imprint is still in my hands. I don't need to show up personally. She will naturally give me the demon book. Zhuowen said with a smile. Shan Lingyun's beautiful eyes flickered. You killed Mo Lan of the limitless demon sect, in which Black Lotus is a genius of the limitless demon sect. Even if she is your servant now, she may not sincerely submit to you. She may betray you in the blink of an eye. Don't worry. Without ZU's tracking system, even if old man Ming Deng and the others really return, they won't be able to catch me at all, Zhuowen said confidently. Although Shan Lingyun was still a little worried, she also knew that it was useless for her to say anything more when Zhuowen had decided. Next, Zhuowen still did not leave the cave. Instead, he used the communication jade talisman to contact Witch Black Lotus. The limitless demon sect was formed by many huge caves. These caves were shaped like skulls. Out in the center of the cave of countless skulls, there was a huge black crystal palace. This crystal palace was the headquarters of the limitless demon sect. In the depths of the crystal palace, in a sealed cultivation room, Black Lotus, who was originally sitting cross-legged and cultivating, took out the communication jade talisman from her waist as if she sensed something. Her eyes flashed with a trace of displeasure. Who was so blind to send her a message when she was in seclusion? However, when she saw the person who sent the message, she was dumbfounded. Master, he is actually not dead. At this moment, Black Lotus's emotions were very complicated. There was strangeness, doubt, surprise, and also a trace of indescribable joy and relief. Only when she saw what Zhuowen had sent her a message to do, a trace of bitterness appeared in the corner of her mouth. The demon book? That is the most precious thing of the limitless demon sect. I'm afraid it will be a little difficult for me to steal that thing. However, I have to do my best to complete Master's orders. Black Lotus muttered to herself. Her beautiful eyes revealed a helpless and determined expression. She quietly left the cultivation room. Chapter 43:21. 3 days later, the sound of a bell echoed in the limitless demon sect for a long time. The originally quiet sect was suddenly thrown into chaos. Powerful figures rushed out from the various devil caves and gathered in the black crystal palace at the center. The demonic bell rang. Could it be that something big has happened? The people gathered in the palace looked at each other. There were elders with powerful cultivations, and there were also outer sect disciples with low status. The ringing of the demonic bell attracted everyone in the sect. There was a rule in the limitless demon sect that when the demonic bell rang, everyone in the sect must gather in the crystal palace. If they didn't come, according to the sect's rules, they would be executed as traitors. Suddenly, the noisy palace became extremely quiet. Everyone looked at the depths of the palace with awe in their eyes. Only a beautiful figure in a black robe slowly walked out from the depths of the palace. It was a mature woman with a graceful figure and a charming expression. Her skin was fairer than snow, and her footsteps were as light as a cat. She was so charming that people couldn't take their eyes off her. Only on both sides of the beautiful woman, there was a boy and a girl. They pulled up the edges of their robes and held them in their hands solemnly. "Greetings, sect master." The people gathered in the center of the palace slowly knelt on the ground and bowed deeply to the beautiful woman in the long robe. The beautiful woman in the long robe was the current sect master of the limitless demon sect, Embark. She was also the sister of vice sect master Molan, who was killed by Zhuoan. Clang! At first, when the news of Molan's death reached the limitless demon sect, Embark was so angry that she wanted to kill Zhuoan. Only later, when she learned that Zhuoan had died by self-explosion, she couldn't find a target to take revenge on, so she had to hold back her anger. "Sect Master, why did you ring the demonic bell and summon us?" In the palace, at the front of the group, a bald old man asked respectfully. He couldn't hide the doubt in his eyes. Although the demonic enchantress tried her best to appear calm, anyone could see the fury in her eyes. The demonic book was stolen. Embark gritted her teeth and said hatefully, "What? The demonic book was stolen? How is this possible? The demonic book is stored in the most secret place of our sect. Outsiders don't even know where the demonic book is. How could it be stolen without a sound?" The bald old man couldn't believe it. Everyone in the hall burst into an uproar. Demon the Codex was the symbol of the limitless demon sect. It also concealed the origin of the limitless demon sect. Although no one in the limitless demon sect was able to cultivate the demonic book because it was too badly damaged, it wasn't completely useless. The demonic tome was forged from special materials. If a demonic cultivator cultivated near the demonic tome, their cultivation efficiency would be greatly increased, and their comprehension of demonic arts would be halved with twice the effort. In the limitless demon sect, the cultivation of many high-level experts and peerless geniuses had risen rapidly with the help of the demonic book. It was a great loss for the limitless demon sect if such a precious treasure was stolen. To be able to steal the demon book without alerting anyone, this person can only be someone from our limitless demon sect, Embark said with a gloomy expression. "Mole? Sect Master, are you mistaken? All those who can come into contact with the demonic book are the upper echelons of the sect and recognized geniuses and juniors. These people are all trustworthy people. It is impossible for them to do such a thing." The bald old man said with a frown. "Oomph. How is it impossible? I already know who it is. Everyone in the sect knows the rules of the demonic bell. Those who haven't arrived yet are the mole." Today, Black Lotus was absent for no reason, and she happened to cultivate in the room where the demonic book was stored yesterday. "There's no doubt that the mole is Black Lotus," Embark said with a gloomy expression. The uproar in the hall became even louder. They felt that it was even more unbelievable. Which Black Lotus was the most stunning genius in the sect? She was an outstanding existence among the younger generation. Her future was limitless. But why did she have to steal the demonic book? With her talent and authority, she could freely enter and exit the demonic book. As long as she used the demonic book to cultivate, she could do it at any time. I also feel that it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. Black Lotus is the thief. Eldering, mobilize 30 elites and follow me to chase after Black Lotus. In the demonic book, there's a tracking device that I placed. As long as she doesn't find it, I can find her in a short time. Black Lotus waved her hand and said to the bald old man at the front of the team. The bald old man nodded and accepted the order. He quickly selected 30 elites and gathered them in front of the demonic enchantress. "The rest of you stay in the sect. Eldering, take them and follow me," Embark said. Embark was expressionless. After she finished speaking, she took Elder Ing and the others and turned into a stream of light, disappearing from the limitless demon sect. Distance hundreds of millions of miles away from the limitless demon sect, in a remote mountain behind a small village, 3 children were playing. When the adults weren't paying attention, they entered the depths of the mountain. The three children quickly lost their way. They walked around in the dense forest behind the mountain for an hour, but did not find a way out. Instead, the more they walked, the more confused they became. They all began to cry loudly, and in the end, they called for their parents. "What's wrong with you?" When the three children didn't know what to do, a slender young man slowly walked out from the depths of the forest while holding the hand of a delicate little girl. 3. The three children looked at the young man. Soon, they were attracted by the little girl who was holding the young man's hand. They immediately blushed. The little girl holding the young man's hand was too beautiful. Her skin was whiter than snow, and her facial features were as delicate as a porcelain doll. Although the three children were very young and didn't know much about love, but they already knew the difference between beauty and ugliness. In the village, they often played with other little girls, but they couldn't be compared to the little girl in front of them. "We were lost." A boy in a blue shirt mustered up his courage and wiped the tears on his face as he spoke in a clear voice. After he finished speaking, he stole a glance at the little girl. "What are you looking at?" The little girl, who looked like a porcelain doll, didn't do anything delicate. She immediately put her hands on her waist and asked valiantly. Scared, the three little boys sat on the ground. "Master," the young man glanced at the little girl. The originally fierce little girl immediately became obedient. "Follow me. I'll send you out of here." The young man held the little girl's hand and slowly walked past the three children, walking towards the exit of the back mountain. The three children did not have any ulterior motives. Seeing that the young man was willing to bring them out, they followed happily. However, the three children would look at the little girl from time to time. Then, like frightened birds, they would immediately turn their heads away and pretend to look elsewhere. Bang! When the young man brought the three children out of the back mountain, the villagers who were anxiously looking for the children immediately surrounded them and shouted for the other villagers to gather here. It turned out that after the three children had gone missing, their parents had immediately informed the village chief, and the village chief had even encouraged the entire village to search for the children's whereabouts. Chapter 43:22. "Hi, Tian, Xian, where did you go? I've been looking for you all this time." A dark-skinned woman hurriedly ran over under the guidance of the others and hugged the three children. Woman behind the woman was a well-built man. Seeing that the three children were fine, he scratched his head and smiled, saying that it was good that they were fine. "Benefactor, you're the one who saved my three children. By Shuf and Kao to thank you." "Thank you, benefactor." The dark-skinned woman touched the heads of the three children and noticed the young man in front of her. She hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to thank him. The simple and honest man, on the other hand, smiled foolishly and kowtowed behind the woman. The young man waved his hand and looked at an old man who was holding a walking stick not far away. The old man was surrounded by the crowd and looked like the backbone of the group. "You must be the village chief?" the young man asked. Elder with the help of a young village girl. He came to the young man and bowed solemnly. "I'm Zhou Hai, the village chief of Longxing Village. Thank you for saving the three children." Elder Qing bowed. Nian waved his hand and said, "Have all your villagers arrived?" Old man village chief was a little stunned. He clearly didn't expect Zhuo Wan to suddenly ask such a strange question. He subconsciously nodded and said, "Other than some who went to the town to buy food, basically everyone is here. Soon, there will be a great battle in your village. Everything within a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers will be destroyed. If you trust me, go to the back of the mountain and head west. In the deepest part of the west, there's a cave. There's a formation I set up in the cave. Here's the formation flag. Take it. After you enter the formation, immediately place the formation flag at the entrance of the cave. The formation will close by itself. The formation will protect your lives." Zhuowen handed the formation flag to the old village chief and said solemnly. Elder Qing, the village chief, looked at Zhuowen strangely. He did not believe the latter's words. Elder Qing, the village was very remote in the Yuan realm. Almost all of them were mortals. There were no cultivators. Now, moreover, a person had suddenly appeared and said that there was going to be an earth-shattering battle here. No one would believe that. After handing the formation flag to the village chief, the young man didn't say anything else. Instead, he took the little girl with him and shot up into the sky. He really was a cultivator. Is there really going to be a big battle later? The moment Zhuan rose into the air, the villagers all cried out in surprise. In the 100 outer realms, only true heaven-crushing cultivators had the ability to soar into the air. Mortals below heaven-crushing didn't have the ability to fly or burrow into the ground. After all, the regulations here were much more powerful than the lower realm, and the restrictions were also much more terrifying. Go, let's listen to this, Lord, and head west to take a look. The old village chief was a person of virtue and prestige. He took a deep look at the young man and the little girl who were hovering in the air. He raised the crutch in his hand and shouted for everyone to enter the back mountain. Since the young man and girl who walked out from the back of the mountain were naturally Zhuan and Shanlingyan, they had just received a message from Black Lotus that she had successfully stolen the demonic book. Only yes, it had also alarmed everyone in the limitless demon sect. Now, Black Lotus was being chased by the sect master, Mei, and she was escaping all the way here. Zhuan knew that a big battle was unavoidable here, so he had asked the people in the nearby villages to enter their original caves to take refuge. "They're here," Shan Lingyun said. Lingyun formed a seal with her hands and slowly opened her eyes. She looked towards the east and said softly. Sure enough, after a while, a figure in a sorry state was quickly rushing over here. "It's Black Lotus." The figure that was getting closer and closer was Black Lotus. Only Black Lotus's condition wasn't very good. Her body was covered in wounds, her face was pale, and there were traces of blood at the corner of her mouth. Behind Black Lotus, there were dozens of figures chasing after her, and they were getting closer and closer to her. Black Lotus. The leader of this team was a beautiful woman in a black robe. Black Lotus naturally noticed Zhuan, who was waiting in the air in front of her. Her eyes flashed with joy, and she quickly came to Zhuan's side. "Master, this is the demonic book." When Black Lotus came to Zhuan's side, she took out a book with an iron cover and handed it to Zhuan. Zhuan didn't look at it, but kept it in the great cosmos. He smiled at Black Lotus and said, "Black Lotus, you have done well. From now on, you are free." Zhuan took out Black Lotus's soul imprint and pressed it into Black Lotus's glabella. Black Lotus felt that the strange feeling in her heart had completely disappeared. She knew that her life was in her hands again. "Thank you, Master," Black Lotus said sincerely. "You deserve it," Zhuan said with a faint smile. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, there was a strong sound of wind breaking in front of them. A few hundred meters in front of them, the demonic enchantress, who had been chasing after Black Lotus, stopped. The demonic enchantress, who was in a black robe, looked at Black Lotus coldly and then at Zhuan, who was beside Black Lotus. "Who are you?" "Black Lotus stole the demonic book because of you," the demonic enchantress said coldly. Zhuan could change his appearance and aura, and the demonic enchantress had never seen Zhuan before. Therefore, she didn't recognize Zhuan for a while. The demonic book is what Black Lotus and I agreed on. I heard that the demonic book is so badly damaged that no one in the Boundless Demon sect has been able to cultivate it for so many years. In that case, the demonic book will be wasted in the Boundless Demon sect. Why don't you give it to me? I will make the best use of the demonic book," Zhuan said calmly. What an arrogant boy. Countless sect masters of the Boundless Demon sect have failed to figure out the true meaning of the demonic book. Do you think you can figure out? Hurry up and hand over the demonic book, otherwise die. Before the demonic enchantress said anything, the bald elder beside her took the initiative to attack. Only the bald old man lowered his body and suddenly charged toward Zhuan. A huge and majestic universe world appeared in the void behind the old man. The old man's universe world was filled with all kinds of lightning tribulations. Each of them was thicker than a bucket and looked exceptionally terrifying. The old man clenched his right hand, and all kinds of lightning tribulations surged out and condensed in his palm, turning into a 3-meter-long giant lightning hammer. Endless lightning hammer. The muscles on the old man's hands swelled to nearly double their original size, and his arms were almost larger than his entire body. He held the lightning hammer that was overflowing with all kinds of brilliance and suddenly descended from the sky. He raised the lightning hammer above his head and smashed it towards Zhuowen. Peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth. How dare such trash provoke me? Zhuowen shook his head. He gently raised his right hand, clenched it into a fist, and then punched out. You're courting death. Seeing Zhuowen being so arrogant, the bald old man sneered in his heart and increased the strength of his hand. Boom! The dazzling lightning hammer and Zhuowen's fist collided, and then endless lightning poured down, completely drowning Zhuowen. Chapter 43:23. Oomph. You're only at the middle stage of the great tribulation of universe. You're so arrogant that you didn't even use your universe world. Aren't you courting death by taking my all-out attack head-on? The bald old man hovered in midair, holding a huge thunder hammer in his right hand. He looked at the torrent formed by the endless thunder tribulation below his feet, his eyes full of contempt. As far as he was concerned, how could Zhuowen have any ability to resist this attack? He was dead for sure. You're weaker than ordinary peak cultivators of the great tribulation of universe. Your all-out attack won't hurt me at all. Just as the bald old man was feeling smug, a faint voice sounded from the depths of the torrent of thunder tribulation. The bald old man was dumbfounded. His eyes were wide open as he stared at the depths of the torrent of thunder tribulation. There, he saw a figure bathed in the thunder tribulation slowly walking out. You? Impossible. Endless thunder hammer. The bald old man couldn't believe it. He waved his thunder hammer again, and the terrifying thunder tribulation poured down again. However, this time, the powerful attack was still unable to cause any substantial damage to Zhuowen. Zhuowen even walked leisurely in the endless thunder tribulation, slowly approaching the bald old man. Endless thunder hammer. Endless thunder hammer. Endless. Due to his extreme fear, the bald old man's mind was in a mess. He began to madly swing his lightning hammer, and bolts of tribulation lightning rained down on Zhuowen's body, wanting to knock him down. Endless, is it enough? Suddenly, Zhuowen's voice sounded again, close at hand. The bald old man, who was crazily waving his thunder hammer, realized that Zhuowen, who was originally a distance away from him, had unknowingly walked in front of him. If it's enough, then it's my turn. Zhuowen spoke again. He didn't give a bald old man any chance to speak. He clenched his right fist and gently punched the bald old man's face. This punch was ordinary, but an extremely terrifying pressure suddenly erupted from Zhuowen's body, suppressing the bald old man like a mountain. The bald old man's eyes widened in horror. He wanted to retreat away from Zhuowen, but he was rooted to the spot by the terrifying pressure. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as Zhuowen's seemingly light fist gently landed between his eyebrows. A surge of power erupted from the fist and surged into the space between his eyebrows, detonating his soul. Poochie! The bald old man spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were wide open as he fell weakly to the ground, no longer breathing. Not far away, Black Lotus, who was recuperating under the care of Shan Lingyun, was not surprised to see Zhuowen deal with the bald old man so easily. She had seen with her own eyes the scene of Zhuowen killing a cosmic Dharma powerhouse. The bald elder was only at the peak of the cosmic tribulation, so it was reasonable for him to be killed by Zhuowen. XDW 8-inch Master. You have to be careful. Our sect master, Mo Mei, is stronger than Mo Lan. She is already a cosmic Dharma powerhouse at the middle stage. Black Lotus secretly reminded Zhuowen through voice transmission. Zhuan nodded slightly. His gaze fell on Mo Mei, whose face had turned ugly. "Who are you?" Mo Mei asked coldly. "It doesn't matter who I am. I only have one goal, and that is your boundless demon sex demonic book. Now that I have the demonic book, I don't want to have a conflict with you. If you don't want to die, leave now, and I won't pursue the matter." Zhuan said casually, as if he was narrating a very ordinary and trivial matter. "You stole my boundless demon sex treasure, the demonic book, and killed my boundless demon sex elder. You want us to leave just because you want us to leave? Aren't you overestimating yourself too much? Do you really think you are as strong as Ni, Gu Xingguang?" Mo Mei was so angry that she laughed, but in her heart, she was furious. Zhuan's arrogance and disdain caused her to feel stifled in her heart. Now, she wanted nothing more than to vent it on Zhuan. "Although I'm not a Ni, Gu Xingguang powerhouse, I'm still stronger than you. If you don't want to die, get out." Zhuan's eyes were cold. He felt that Mo Mei was unreasonable. "You are courting death." Mo Mei was so angry that she jumped out and rushed toward Zhuan. Now, Mo Mei had lost her mind. The only thing she wanted to do was to kill Zhuan and tear him into pieces. In view of Zhuan's powerful strength, Mo Mei had lost her mind, but she did not dare to be careless. She took out her cosmic dharma and her life artifact. Mo Mei's cosmic dharma was a huge woman in a loose black robe. Behind the black robe giant, there was a pair of bat wings that were hundreds of feet wide. They flashed slowly, setting off a terrifying and violent hurricane. The black-robed giant held a black gold scepter. At the tip of the scepter, there was a black gold gem that was shining. The black-robed giant held the scepter in her right hand and pointed at the void. A huge black gold fireball swept through the air and blasted toward Zhuan. Each black gold fireball was dozens of feet in size and exuded an extremely high temperature. Wherever the fireball passed, it set off a terrifying wave of heat. In the shape of a ring, it spread in all directions. It was as if even the air was about to evaporate and space was about to be scorched. Zhuan stood in place. His eyes became slightly dignified. He was no longer arrogant. Instead, he took out his own universe world. The huge 9-layered universe world was suspended above the void behind him. In the universe world, the 9 layers were clearly separated, flashing with 9 different calamity brilliances. Zhuan's right hand pointed at the void and opened a gap in the first layer of the universe world. Countless terrifying flames surged out, turning into ferocious and lifelike flame dragons. The flame dragons easily blocked the black gold fireballs that the demonic enchantress took out. Zhuan tapped his right hand again. The second layer of ice element calamity also rushed out, passing through the blocked black gold fireballs and pouncing toward the demonic enchantress. The demonic enchantress's pupils constricted. She took out the scepter in her hand, forming circles of black gold protective shields that enveloped her body, blocking the ice element calamity that was like an avalanche. His universe world. Why does it have 9 layers? The demonic enchantress's eyes were filled with bewilderment. Very quickly, she seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and thought of something. With a 9-layered universe world and such a powerful strength, only one person had this characteristic. That was Zhuan. However, didn't Zhuan die? However, there wasn't much time left for the demonic enchantress to think. Zhuan tapped 3 more times with his right hand, opening up the gaps in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th layers. Blood lightning, black lightning, and a corrosive flood of silver white and fiery red poured out, surging toward the demonic enchantress. The power of these 3 calamities was much stronger than the previous 2. The moment they appeared, they destroyed most of the defensive circle that the demonic enchantress had put up, leaving only a little bit that was barely holding on. The demonic enchantress was heavily injured. She spat out a mouthful of blood, her face as pale as a sheet. Chapter 43:24. Thousands search demonic shadows. Seeing her defenses being eroded, The demonic enchantress's eyes flashed with ruthlessness as she used her most powerful mystique. Clouds of demonic mist burst out of her huge dharma, and then the demonic enchantress's dharma split into two, then four. The demonic enchantress's dharma continued to split into nearly 1,000 dharma manifestations, each of which had an aura no weaker than an early-stage dharma manifestation. The 1,000 avatars used the same attack, and for a moment, they blocked the first 5 layers of Joie, Wind's tribulation energy. They even suppressed Joie, Wind's tribulation attack. Interesting. I wonder if you can withstand the 6th level's tribulation. Joie Wind's lips curled into a cold smile. He tapped the void with his right hand again, and a gap opened in the 6th level of the 9-level Chinquan world behind him. When Joan had just broken through to the Chinquan tribulation, he had been able to open the first 5 levels. Now that he had successfully reached the mid-stage of the Chinquan tribulation, opening the 6th level was not much of a problem. He was even confident that he could open the 7th level. When Joan opened the gap in the 6th level, a deafening explosion sounded between heaven and earth, incessant and endless. Numerous mountains that were tens of thousands of feet tall appeared in the sky. They were densely packed together. The surface of each mountain was drawn with all kinds of strange golden runes, shining brilliantly, like a divine mountain that had existed since ancient times. As soon as the divine mountains appeared in the void, they all began to freefall, falling in an orderly manner toward the demonic enchantresses below. Boom, boom, boom. The divine mountains fell from the sky, and the demonic enchantresses' many demonic shadows could not dodge in time. Most of them were crushed to death. In the blink of an eye, the thousands of demonic shadows were reduced to a few afterimages with missing limbs. These afterimages gathered together again, turning into the demonic enchantress's true body. Puffed. The demonic enchantress knelt on the ground, spitting out mouthfuls of blood. She looked at Joan, her eyes full of fear. Joan, you are Joan. The demonic enchantress stared at Joan and finally spoke her guess. Joan smiled and did not answer. He slowly walked toward the demonic succubus, and the sword finger on his right hand slowly landed between her eyebrows. After the demonic enchantress fell to the ground with her eyes wide open, Joan slowly stood up and looked at the 30 elites of the Limitless Demon sect who were still watching from afar. XDW-8, noticing Joan's gaze, the 30 elites of the Limitless Demon sect felt their hearts tremble. Then, they knelt down in front of Joan. "We are willing to serve you as our master. Please spare our lives," they said cautiously. "To me, all of you are just burdens." Joan said indifferently. The 30 elites were left speechless as they knelt on the ground, trembling with apprehension. "You should respect Black Lotus as your master. If you can help her become the sect master, it will be enough to atone for your crimes." Joan glanced at Black Lotus, who was not far away, and said nonchalantly. The 30 elites were overjoyed. They hurriedly knelt down in front of Black Lotus and handed over their spiritual seals, acknowledging Black Lotus as their master. Black Lotus, these are the elites of the Limitless Demon sect. With their support, you should be able to successfully become the new sect master. I have other things to do, so I will take my leave now. Joan said a few words to Black Lotus. Then he clasped his fists and left with Shan Lingyun. Since he had already obtained the demonic book, he naturally did not miss this place. Black Lotus looked at Joan's back as he left. His mouth was full of bitterness, and there was a tinge of disappointment in his heart. After some disguise, Joan headed south and arrived at the southern border of the Noir realm. Joan was afraid that the bright lamp old man and the other two might still be waiting at the northern border. Therefore, for safety reasons, he chose the southern border. After successfully passing the border inspection, Joan took out a divine ship and headed toward the Void Yama realm. Niwa clan, there will be plenty of time to settle the score between us in the future. Looking at the southern border of the Niwa realm, Joan muttered to himself. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. When he had left Panyu Galaxy and headed to the 100 domains, he had wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. Within 10,000 years, he had wanted to surpass the Nuwa clan's leader, Huangju. Once 10,000 years had passed, the fact that the experts of the Nuwa clan had died in Panyu Galaxy would be exposed. And Panyu Galaxy would face the revenge of the Nuwa clan. With Panyu Galaxy's strength, how could it be a match for a colossus like the Nuwa clan? By then, it would definitely collapse and be annihilated in the chaotic starry sky. Fortunately, there was still quite some time before the 10,000-year deadline. Although Zhuowen could not do anything to the Nuwa clan now. After he successfully broke through to the cosmic form, he was confident that even if he broke into the Nuwa divine city of the Nuwa clan alone, the experts of the Nuwa clan might not be able to stop him. The 100 domains have a total of 9 supreme realms. The supreme realms are completely separated from the high grade, middle grade, and low grade realms. The supreme realms are independent worlds. Every supreme realm has many treasured lands and secret realms. The chaotic energy and the strength of the cultivators, they are far superior to other realms. And the supreme realms do not have any ancient teleportation formations that are connected to the outside world. The only way to enter the supreme realms is to go to the Purple Jade Sacred City in the Purple Jade Realm. Only by taking a special divine ship can one enter the supreme realms. On the deck, Zhuowen could not help but frown as he listened to Shan Lingyun's introduction. He did not expect that going to the supreme realms would be so troublesome. There is actually no corresponding ancient teleportation formation that could directly teleport one to the supreme realms. Purple Jade Realm? Is it the most powerful high-grade realm below the supreme realms? Zhuowen felt that the Purple Jade Realm was a little familiar and could not help but ask. Shan Lingyun nodded and said, "Yes, the Purple Jade Realm is the most powerful high-grade realm. It is much more powerful than the Nuwa realm. What's more, the Zishian realm is a very peculiar place. It's a society where women have a much higher status than men. As for the Zishuan clan, which dominates the Zishuan realm, they are all women." Zhuowen was a little surprised. He did not expect that the Purple Jade Realm was actually dominated by women. Furthermore, I heard that the Zishian domain was only considered to be in the lower middle class among the many high-class domains in the distant past. The reason why it was able to rise so quickly to become the #1 high-class domain was because the Zishian clan produced an outstanding beauty who hooked up with several supreme domain experts and obtained their help. Shan Lingyun said softly. Hearing this, Zhuowen shook his head and laughed. This was called going through the back door, or unspoken rules on Earth. Since we are going to the supreme realms, we must take the divine ship from the Purple Jade Sacred City of the Purple Jade Realm. Let's go to the Purple Jade Realm first, Zhuowen said lightly. About half a month's journey from here, there is a high-grade realm called the Serene realm. In this realm, there is an ancient teleportation formation that leads directly to the Purple Jade Realm. We can go to the Serene realm first. Shan Lingyun unfolded a huge ancient map scroll. Her small head was covered by the ancient scroll. She read it carefully and gave her opinion. Yes, according to Master Xiaohe, we can reach in half a month. Zhuowen nodded and looked at Xiaohe, who was steering the divine ship. Leave it to me. Xiaohe grinned. Chapter 43-25. Half a month later, Zhuowen and the rest arrived at the Serene domain. Serene, although the Serene domain was also a high-level domain, it was ranked last among the 16 high-level domains. In terms of power and resources, it was much weaker than the Nuwa domain. The ancient teleportation formation that leads directly to the Zishian sacred city is located in the Serene divine city, the core city of the Serene domain. The Serene divine city is in the northeast, about a day and a half away from us. On the deck, Shan Lingyun held an ancient map scroll that was half her size as she gave out instructions in a logical manner. This little girl, it's easy for her to talk. She only needs to look at the ancient map scroll, and she can order me around. I'm just a laborer. What a tough life. Xiaohe muttered, but her hands did not slow down. She changed the direction of the divine ship and headed toward the northeast. First, when they were half a day away from the sure divine city, the divine ship suddenly shook violently as if it had been hit by a heavy blow. Entire, the body of the ship spun rapidly in the air, and a huge hole appeared on the side of the divine ship. Zhuan, who had been cultivating with his eyes closed in the depths of the ship, suddenly opened his eyes and went to the deck. Xiaohei, what's wrong? Zhuan looked at Xiaohei, who was trying her best to stabilize the ship, and asked with a frown. Little. Black's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Someone suddenly attacked our divine ship. It's over there. One looked in the direction that Xiaohei was pointing. A few thousand meters away in the northeast, a black divine ship was speeding toward them. On the deck of the black divine ship stood a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. His eyes were filled with mockery and viciousness, while on both sides of the black divine ship, there were more than 10 pitch-black cannons neatly arranged. At this moment, these cannons were shooting out blazing white light, which condensed into a terrifying attack that shot toward Zhuan's divine ship. Is this person crazy? We have no enmity with him. Why is he suddenly attacking us? Xiaohei cursed, but her actions were not slow. She controlled the divine ship to continuously dodge the light cannons fired by the black divine ship. The black divine ship had clearly been modified at a later stage. There were many powerful cannons installed on it. On the other hand, Zhuan's divine ship was just an ordinary divine ship for civilian use. It didn't have any offensive equipment. In front of the black divine ship, Zhuan's divine ship was simply a live target. It could only dodge and not attack. Xiaohei's skills were really good, and he managed to dodge all the light cannons. Wow, Master Long, your piloting skills are amazing. You can travel freely in front of so many light cannons. Sure Potion's eyes lit up as he clapped his hands and praised. If Zilong was polite and asked him to go, he might have gladly gone. But if he followed Zilong, he would definitely be interrogated by the upper echelons of the Zixin clan. This wasn't something Zhuan liked. You, when I have never met before. I don't know you anything. I refuse to go with you to Zixin Holy City, Zhuan said lightly. Zilong's beautiful eyes widened. She obviously didn't expect Zhuan to reject a request. As the third holy maiden of the Zixin clan, her status was high and her word was law. Since others had always fawned over her and listened to her, no one had ever rejected her request. But now, this unprepossessing young man in front of her actually rejected her request. Zilong wrinkled her nose and didn't understand. Do I still need a reason to refuse? Zhuan shook his head speechlessly and continued. If there's nothing else, then we'll take our leave. Stop right there. You got guts. What kind of status does Lord Zilong have? You actually dare to be so impudent? Do you want to die? Shi Sheng brought several dozen people and blocked Zhuan's path, berating Zhuan loudly. Zhuan looked at Shi Sheng coldly and said indifferently, What? Could it be that if I refuse, you all will kill me? You offended Lord Zilong. That's courting death. Even if I kill you 1,000 times, 10,000 times, it's still not enough to redeem your great sin, Shi Sheng said with a cold smile. It's fine if you like to be someone else's dog, but why force others to be your dog? Don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Haven't you heard before? Zhuan shook his head and said with a sneer, You're courting death. Shi Sheng was fuming with anger. This boy actually dared to mock him as a dog. This was simply humiliating him in public. A mere middle-stage universe great tribulation trash actually dares to insult me. You've already committed a great crime. I'll execute you on the spot. Killing intent surged in Shi Sheng's eyes. His right hand was like lightning, fiercely grabbing at Zhuan's face. Chapter 43:27. Zhuan looked calmly at Shi Sheng's attack that was getting closer and closer. A strong gust of wind swept over and blew Zhuan's hair. The moment Shi Sheng attacked, Zhuowen noticed that Zilong was standing at the side and watching coldly. There was even a mocking smile at the corner of her mouth. Look, Zilong was not a good person. She was silently allowing Shi Sheng to kill him. Boom! An ear-piercing explosion sounded continuously. Shi Sheng's attack was close at hand. His claws were like cast iron. With one claw, it was as if he could tear Zhuowen apart. "You're dead, trash!" Shi Sheng shouted. Sheng grinned and silently mocked Zhuowen, who did not move at all. Boom! Shi Sheng's claws hit Zhuowen's body, and the entire space stirred up waves of terrifying ripples. Then, he was shocked to find that Zhuowen's entire body was shattered. He could even hear the sound of surging waves. Boom! The shattered Zhuowen turned into water splashes and fell from the sky, silently merging into the depths of the earth. Boom! The moment Zhuowen used the secret technique of water escape, Xiao He, Shi Patian, and Shan Lingyun entered the parallel world. He's dead? Shi Sheng asked. Sheng looked at Zhuowen, who had turned into water splashes and merged into the earth, and muttered to himself in a daze. Zilong, who was watching by the side, suddenly narrowed her eyes. Boom! She stretched out her slender, jade-like hand and pointed at the ground where the formless water had landed. Boom! Boom! The ground exploded, forming a deep, pitch-black crater. He disappeared. Even his aura seemed to have evaporated. What kind of secret technique is this? Zilong looked down at the huge pit in front of her silently. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and she could not help but click her tongue in wonder. Master Zilong, do you mean that the kid just escaped? Shi Sheng came to Zilong's side and naturally heard what she said. He could not help but ask with his eyes wide open. And in Shi Sheng's opinion, it was impossible for Zhuowen, who was merely at the middle stage of the universe's great tribulation, to survive his attack. He really did run away. This child cultivation is not very high, but he has many tricks up his sleeves. Just now, after he turned into the formless water, his aura completely disappeared. If I had not been observing from the side, I would also have thought that this child was dead, Zilong said. Shi Sheng's expression was a little ugly. He had originally planned to perform well in front of Zilong to gain her favor. As the saintess of the Zixin clan, Zilong was respected and admired by tens of thousands of people. She was much more glorious than him, the clan leader of the Shi clan. If he could establish a connection with Zilong, he, in the Shi domain that he was in charge of, would benefit greatly. Now, Zhuowen had escaped right under his nose, causing him to lose face. Shi Sheng hated Zhuowen so much that his teeth itched. Master Zilong, should we continue to pursue Fei Pengze? Shi Sheng asked. He should still be in the Shi domain. Patrol carefully during this period of time. If you receive any news of him, do not try to alert him. Inform me immediately, Zilong said in a low voice. Shi Sheng said somewhat disapprovingly. Master Zilong, you are being too careful. That Fei Pengze is only at the late stage of the cosmic Dharma stage. I alone am enough to capture this person. Zilong's expression turned cold and said rudely, What do you know? Fei Pengze's cultivation is not very high, but he has an extremely fast and powerful black divine ship. In addition, this person is extremely cunning. Once you alert him, you may not be able to capture him smoothly. Shi Sheng quickly nodded and did not dare to object anymore. Let's go. I need to make a trip back to Zixin Holy City to bring back the news of Fei Pengze. It's a pity if we could capture that person alive and not testify for us. The following matters would become very simple. Zixin said. Zilong thought of the second saintess's unreasonable personality and extremely protective nature. If there was no concrete evidence, the second saintess would definitely stand on the side of her husband, Fei Pengze. Although it was troublesome, Zilong also knew that with the passage of time, his deduction would definitely be confirmed. She did not believe that Fei Pengze, who had stolen the divine fire seed, would dare to return to the Zixin Holy City. At thousands of kilometers away, the invisible water that Zhuowen had transformed into appeared on the shore of a river and reformed into a human form. Shi Sheng and Zilong are really unreasonable. They killed people just because they moved. Isn't this a little too much? Dan Shan said. Ling Yun came out of the great world and waved her little fist angrily. The weak are prey to the strong. Survival of the fittest. This has always been the rule of the path of cultivation. Zhuowen, on the other hand, was very calm. He did not feel indignant that Shi Sheng had killed him just because of a disagreement. At Thane, the world of cultivators, there were no rules. Whoever had the biggest fist could do whatever they wanted. Therefore, if one did not easily fall on the path of cultivation, then one had to be cunning and vigilant enough. One had to make oneself stronger, so strong that no one could threaten you. This divine ship has already been seen by Shi Sheng, Zilong, and the others. In order to avoid being recognized by them, let's change to another divine ship. After Zhuowen destroyed the already tattered divine ship, he took out another completely different divine ship from the Great World. At the same time, in the Great World, there were many divine ships prepared in order to prevent things like today from happening. The group continued to move towards Shi Rant's divine ship. Bai Xiaohe became more cautious during the journey due to what had happened before, to the point of being somewhat nervous. As long as he saw other divine ships approaching from afar, Xiaohe would immediately run away as if he was running away, as if he was afraid that the divine ship would randomly bump into him, causing the cultivators passing by to be baffled. Originally, it was only half a day's journey away from Shi Rant's divine ship, but the overly cautious Xiaohe took 2 days to arrive at Shi Rant's divine city. At the same time, Zhuowen, who had been using the primordial stone to deduce the incomplete demonic book obtained by the limitless demon sect, finally succeeded in deducing the incomplete part of the demonic book. Nothing is limitless, and the demonic is limitless. Limitless is limitless, and this is the limitless demonic Tao. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes and muttered the first few sentences of the complete demonic book. The complete demonic book was called the Limitless Demonic Book, and the cultivator of this demonic book was called the Limitless Demonic Tao. Even more, what surprised Zhuowen was that the Limitless Demonic Book was a lawful embodiment of heaven and earth level demonic book. Strange back then, the Limitless Demon Sect relied on this demonic book to dominate several realms, and their foundation and power surpassed most of the high-grade realms. Zhuowen suspected that the founder of the Limitless Demon Sect had only cultivated this demonic book to a small success stage. Thus, the Limitless Demonic Book was so powerful that if one could cultivate it to a large success stage, they would probably be able to reach the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth level. Back then, the Limitless Demon Sect had not only dominated several realms, but it also leaped to become a new supreme realm. The Limitless Demonic Book had a total of 4 levels, and each level was more difficult than the previous one. What interested Zhuowen even more was that the Limitless Demonic Book wasn't the type of demonic technique that was domineering in attack, but a supportive demonic technique. Within the Limitless Demonic Book, there weren't any offensive divine abilities, and the only divine ability was demonic die. Chapter 43:28. Mo Ran was the core ability of the Limitless Demon Book. Its main function was to instantly contaminate all the cultivation methods, abilities, artifacts, and so on of the cultivator with a powerful demonic nature. Momo Ran would not cause any damage to the cultivator's abilities, cultivation methods, and artifacts. On the contrary, it would greatly enhance the cultivator's abilities, cultivation methods, and artifacts. While if Mo Ran was contaminated by an enemy, it would immediately demonize the enemy and greatly weaken the enemy. If the enemy's mind was weak, it would be easy to be controlled by Mo Ran and become a puppet of the cultivator. While in this degree of strengthening oneself and weakening the enemy would become stronger as one's cultivation of the Limitless Demon Book became more profound. The more Zhuowen understood the Limitless Demon Book, the brighter the light in his eyes. This Limitless Devil Tome was simply made for the current him. In the Nuwa domain, he had offended many experts of the superdomains. If he directly entered the superdomain like this, there was no doubt that the chances of being exposed would be very high. After all, many experts had seen his battle scenes and knew his aura and abilities. If he had M.O. Rand's cover, even if he used the same ability, it would be a demonic ability. No one would associate it with him. Zhuan did not immediately cultivate the limitless demon book. Instead, he walked out of the divine ship and brought Shan Lingyun and the others into Ran God City in a low-key manner. Jiu Yuan, you are actually so familiar with Ran God City? After entering Ran God City, under Jiu Yuan's suggestion, they came to a relatively affordable inn near the center of the city. While in under Jiu Yuan's reminder, Ran God City held the 10,000 Lanterns Festival in the last 3 days. The entire city was filled with a festive atmosphere. While in these 3 days, the ancient teleportation array will be temporarily closed. After the festival, it will open again. While Jiu Yuan smiled at Zhuan's question and said casually, I stayed in Ran God City for a period of time and happened to encounter the 10,000 Lanterns Festival. At that time, I was also going to Zixin Sacred City, but I had a closed door, so I have a deep impression of it. One looked at Jiu Yuan indifferently. Although he felt that Jiu Yuan was hiding something, he did not ask. After all, this was his private matter. And in the inn's high-grade cultivation room, Zhuan did not pay any attention to the outside world and began to concentrate on cultivating the limitless devil scripture. Behind the process of using the primordial stone to deduce, he already had a very deep understanding of the cultivation of the limitless demonic scripture. Therefore, when he cultivated it, it was actually twice the effort for half the result. In just 3 days, he had successfully cultivated the first level of the limitless devil scripture. M.O. Ran. Zhuan slowly stood up. His lips moved slightly as dense demonic fog wrapped around his entire body. And in the depths of the demonic fog, a pair of crimson eyes appeared. From afar, it really did look like a demonic cultivator. The demonic mist gradually receded, revealing Zhuan's true appearance. Under the influence of M.O. Ran, Zhuan's face also changed. His skin became fairer, and his eyes flashed with a demonic red light. The corners of his mouth curled up into a devilish smile. Ruoif Zhuan used the primordial grand mist art to slightly alter his aura and appearance. Even people familiar with him wouldn't be able to recognize him at first glance. Dong, dong, dong. There was a knock on the door, and then Shan Lingyun's voice sounded. Zhuan opened the door, and Shan Lingyun was standing outside. See, when the door opened, Shan Lingyun was about to grumble, but when she raised her head and saw Zhuan's face, she was stunned. Did I knock on the wrong door? Shan Lingyun was confused. She looked at the door number subconsciously, and after confirming that it was correct, she looked at the demonic man in front of her with a strange gaze. This demonic man's eyes flashed with a red light, and it made her very uncomfortable. Zhuan withdrew the effects of M.O. Ran, and his appearance and aura returned to normal. It's me, Zhuan said with a smile. Shan Lingyun patted her chest and rolled her eyes at Zhuan. She curiously said, Disciple, your disguise technique is getting more and more powerful. I didn't recognize you just now. If you didn't restore your appearance, I would have thought that I was facing a fiendish devil cultivator. Zhuan said. Wen's smile grew wider. It seemed that the effects of M.O. Ran were beyond his expectations. Even Shan Lingyun couldn't recognize him. The 10,000 Lanterns Festival is over. Today, the ancient teleportation array in Ran God City will be reopened. We can teleport. Shan Lingyun said with a smile. Zhuan nodded and said, Before we go, the Jiu Yuan, and the rest should enter my world first, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble. Shan Lingyun said. Shan Lingyun naturally knew what trouble Zhuan was talking about. After all, they had offended Sheng a few days ago. Zhuan's disguise was better than theirs, and he could get away with it. However, they might not be able to do so. Sure, Sheng, the ancient teleportation array in Ran God City was located in the central Great Temple. At this moment, there was a long queue outside the central Great Temple. Many cultivators were waiting to use the ancient teleportation array to go to other regions. Due to the delay of the 10,000 Lanterns Festival, there were many people waiting to use the ancient teleportation array today. The red-nosed, middle-aged man stood in front of Zhuo Wan, and the smile on his face was cold. Where do you think you're going? The middle-aged man's aura was rampant. The aura of the early Dharma laws of the universe rushed out of his body like an erupting volcano. I came to your Ran Divine City to use your ancient teleportation array. I think you'd better not stop me. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. Zhuo Wen's eyes surged with viciousness. He had been obstructed time and time again, and he was already very impatient. Are you threatening me? A mere mid-stage universe tribulation ant dares to threaten me. The middle-aged man laughed. Just as he finished speaking, the killing intent in his eyes suddenly erupted. The aura of an early-stage Dharma idol was completely released. A huge Dharma idol floated in the void behind him. It was hundreds of feet tall and looked down at all the living beings around the great temple. Arrogant disciple, I won't kill you today. I'll cripple your limbs, cultivation, and soul. Then, I'll bring you back to the torture hall for interrogation. When the great clan master returns, I'll convict you. The middle-aged man merged into the huge Dharma idol. He slowly opened his mouth, and his magnificent voice spread throughout the entire divine city like a mighty heavenly might. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the huge Dharma idol's palm fell, crushing down on Zhuan's head. It was as heavy and terrifying as a mountain. The many cultivators who had retreated a distance away were frightened when they saw the middle-aged man suddenly attack. Only when they were far enough away did they watch with lingering fear as the palm that was constantly burning with Dharma idol flames engulfed Zhuan's tiny figure. Then, there was a shocking explosion on the ground where the divine city was located. Everyone secretly shook their heads. They knew that the young demonic cultivator was dead meat. After all, the young demonic cultivator's cultivation was too weak. He was only at the mid-stage of the universe tribulation. However, to everyone's astonishment, the huge Dharma idol's palm that was as heavy as a towering mountain suddenly collapsed. The huge Dharma idol let out a rather shrill and angry cry. It covered its collapsed right palm and retreated. The place where the young demonic cultivator stood suddenly surged with a strange demonic aura. In the pitch-black and deep demonic aura, two scarlet spots of light were so conspicuous and demonic. Bang! Suddenly, the ground exploded with a clap of thunder. In the surging demonic aura, the two scarlet spots of light suddenly shot up and charged towards the retreating Dharma idol. Only then did everyone see clearly that the two scarlet spots of light were a pair of eyes filled with demonic aura, and the young demonic cultivator was within the demonic aura. If you commit suicide now, I can forgive the mistakes of the other members of your Ran clan. Otherwise, your Ran clan can disappear. Zhuowen waved his hand and said indifferently, What? The second clan leader's eyes were filled with terror, but he couldn't utter a single word. How could he possibly commit suicide in front of everyone? Second clan leader, this is the only way to protect our Ran clan. Kill yourself. That's right. For the sake of our clansmen, quickly do as this lord says. Zheng, while the second clan leader was hesitating, the surrounding members of the Ran clan began to denounce the second clan leader. After personally witnessing Zhuowen casually killing 5 strong Cosmic Dharma adepts and defeating the second clan leader, the members of the Ran clan had already lost their will to fight. Right now, they only wanted to compromise and do everything they could to please Zhuowen in order to protect themselves. I am your second clan leader. You want me to commit suicide? The second clan leader was so angry that his entire body trembled. He never thought that his clansmen would ask him to commit suicide to atone for his sins. For the continuation of our clansmen, the second clan leader can only sacrifice you. In the Divine City, a group of clansmen floated in midair and completely surrounded the second clan leader. Their killing intent was boiling. Shua looked at this scene in surprise. He never thought that the members of the Ran clan would not only stop dealing with him, an outsider, but also attack their second clan leader. Ran clan is truly a clan that is rotten to the point of being incurable. Shua said, when looked at the group of clansmen surrounding the second clan leader with some pity. Then, Zhuowen saw with his own eyes that the clansmen of the Ran clan launched a joint attack and completely landed on the second clan leader. As the second clan leader's injuries were too serious, he could only passively defend. After a while, he was exhausted and completely died in the hands of his clansmen. We have personally executed the second clan leader, the sinner who offended you. Please forgive the rest of the people of the Ran clan. They were all following orders and had no choice. After executing the second clan leader, the clansmen of the Ran clan knelt on the ground and sincerely and respectfully begged for mercy. Shua waved his hand, somewhat dispirited. The behavior of the Ran clan's clansmen made him very disgusted, but he did not want to dirty his hands by killing these pathetic people. Take out the array diagram of your Ran Divine City's ancient transmission array and give it to me. Repair the ancient transmission array as soon as possible. I'm still in a hurry, Zhuowen said lightly.